What's up, guys? This is Maxwell Media Inc. I'm your host, Sir Maxwell, and today we are back for more queer-coded content. Today we're talking about Season 2 of House of the Vampire. Love this show. Love this show down. We talked about Season 1 and the previous queer-coded, so if you want to go and watch that and check that out, please go do that, because that was a really, really good episode. Now, how did you feel about Season 1 versus Season 2, Al?
Well, for me, season 1 was a lot more of a very intimate and dark, dark, family tale. Like there was really only the three main characters for most of the season, and with occasional one intro episode type deal. Most of the other characters in the series were one-off, but I liked season 2 had a much wider cast, and had other characters beyond just cause that was one thing that for me in season 1, I loved the intimacy and the slow pacing and the hyper focusing on the relationship, but I liked that there were other dynamics being explored this season, because Claudia has her dynamic with her new love interest. There's also the head actor guy at the play. There's also Armand. There's Lestat as well, and I also really did love the one episode we got where it was a flashback to Louis and the interviewer's first meeting. I found that to be really cool. I like that we kind of got little breaks, little different looks into different angles of it. I feel like season 1 was a great family portrait, but this felt more of a landscape, and I kind of I like how detailed and wide this second season really did feel.
Yeah, I felt like the world of Interview with the Vampire is more open now, and I really, really appreciate that. I was hesitant to get into Season 2 versus Season 1, because I'm a really huge Louis and Lestat shipper, so to go into a season where they weren't together, and they were separated, and he was supposed to fall in love with this new man, I was like, ugh, I don't know if I like it, but I rock with the show, and I trust the show's vision, so I'm gonna get into it, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by season 2. I really, really love the actor for Armand. He is amazing. He blew it out of the water. Surpassed all my expectations. I just feel like season 1 he didn't get to show off his range enough, because he was just kind of the strict assistant. But seeing him be Armand was whoa, breath. I think it's on the same level as Sam Reed's Lestat. They just, yeah. What I want for season 3 is to see those two interact more, and their energies interact more, because they're both just big forces in nature.
Yeah, and I like how deadly, delicate yet dangerous Armand's actor really brought to his performance. I think it really did match the description a lot of people have told me about him in the books. So that's something I really had a lot of fun with. I'm not read the books. I know I should. I am usually a big reader, but I don't know, there's so many of those damn Anne Rice novels.
There are.
And plus I've heard the books aren't as explicitly gay, so I'm
they're not. And because this is the thing about the books. In the books, Anne Rice has vampires. They feel everything really deeply, but they're not sexual. So they love, and they love deeply, and they love intensely, but they don't have the same sensation as humans. So they don't do things like smoke. They don't drink. They don't do drugs. They don't have sex. That would feel like nothing to them. They don't do that. The only thing that stimulates them in the books is blood. So that's just sort of why that's just not really a thing in the books. Plus Anne Rice is most of her vampire characters are non-straight, and it's that's nice that she confirmed that. But as people with eyes and urges, we want to see the action. So I appreciate AMC for being no, we're gonna make it very explicit, and we're gonna show the boys kissing, because that's what we deserve.
Yeah, honestly, I do look. I love the intimate nature and getting into a character's head. There's a reason I've read Rainbow Rowell's Carry On trilogy 5 times in the Game of Thrones books, like 10 times, like since high school. But I just I want actual gay shit happening on like in the story, and that's one of the reasons, again, like I love Carry On so much, because that book is like basically like gay Harry Potter fan fiction. But that's like, I don't know, that like Interview with the Vampire does bring that, and I'm honestly still surprised. Like I don't know why, but like I am no I know why, homophobia. Like I was raised with nothing, but like I just had Wiccan and Hulkling, but now like they are going out of their way to be like very explicit, very very sexual, well, almost carnal, and how like and it's not like gratuitous. It's very intimate and beautiful, and you can just feel the actors like are really pulling. Like I remember back on social media, there was like some people like question like pretending to be Lestat's actor and being like, what are we, like, after like the way like Jacob Anderson went into that kiss, like playing Louis like with Lestat's actor, and I'm like yeah, honestly I would be like, damn, like what, like this feels like more than acting, like you're like, this is too good to like but like of course it's like Louis's actor is just amazing, that amazing. And honestly, like, thank God he got away from Game of Thrones. Like he has shined so brilliantly. I need like more people. Like I need Christopher Nolan calling him up, like, and being like, and not just like a supporting role. Give him a lead role in like the next Christopher Nolan or like film or something. Like, come on.
Yeah, like shout out to them. I think a big reason why they worked so well in season 1 is just because Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson just have incredible chemistry, and they're like really really good friends in real life, so they're able to bring that connection onto the screen. So I appreciate them for that a lot, and same for our Armand's actor. Now getting into season 2 and the plot, they are going through, Eastern Europe during World War II, and they're looking for more vampires, and it's gray and it's bleak and it's war torn, and they don't like black people, and it's this whole thing, and it's just a very like dark, dreary, depressing time in their lives, because Claudia is really angry at Louis, because like, first of all, you didn't kill that motherfucker like you said you was gonna kill him. We didn't burn him, so he's still out there somewhere. Number one. Number two, it's the fact that not only did you not finish him off like you said you were going to, you carry him in your heart and in your mind, and like you carry him around with us, and it's like it's the fact that you feel guilty about killing him at all, and like you run around like that, and it's like there's like so many levels of guilt, because Louis feels guilty about killing Lestat, but then he feels guilty because he knows that Claudia is mad at it. And you know what the tea is? I really think that Claudia was so mad about Louis feeling guilty because I think low-key, in her subconscious, she felt guilty that he was so upset about it. Because it's like, well, shit, now you're making me feel bad because, we killed the love of your life. And it's like... So it was just like all these levels of guilt going on with the two of them, and like them sort of like giving each other the silent treatment, and Claudia sort of punishing him, and that was just like a really, really bleak time in their lives.
Yeah, like he was coming at like away from a relationship, and like she has the right to be mad. Like Lestat treated her like dog shit, and it can be very frustrating when someone you love keeps holding on to a love to someone who abused you, and mistreated you, and even abused them, and they like it can be very frustrating not only to like to feel that hurt, and that you like are like not trying to get away from it, but like that you're doing it to yourself. Like I think Claudia was going through a lot of hurt, or not only for herself, but like seeing Louis like basically cling to the emotions of an unstable and horrible relationship.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and we'll get to like the abusive angle of the Louis and that later, because that's going to be a really important part of the trial. But how did you feel about their search for vampires in Romania, and that sort of like White Walker-esque sort of zombie vampire they ran into.
I think that was a really cool episode, and I really liked the way the motif and the theme of and I did build out the world with the idea that like they need there to actually be life in the blood, and like the men in this and yeah, like you eat shitty food, you feel shitty. And I think it really shows like the war took away people's life. It took away their hopes and their dreams and their freedoms. So why should you can't build something out of ash. That's and it was really beautiful and intimate, how they still persevered together. They did feel like refugees. It was technically a vacation, but not the worst vacation ever. Probably worst vacation in fiction.
Right.
but that adventure with them going through, and I think it did show I think I remember when they killed the villagers killed that woman who got just got torn up a bit, and they're like, she's gonna be a vampire, and they no, that's bullshit. But they kind they are not heroes. They kind of just sort of leave this woman to her fate, even though she was probably one of the kindest people in that time period to them. And
well,
yeah, and in many ways it was a very intimate betrayal, and I still stand firm they were right to do so, but it still is really hard and difficult to get away from that feeling of responsibility. But it was a great story. It was a great in that part, and when they met that older vampiress trying to turn, and Claudia really tries to reach out to this woman and get her to come with them, but I think a lot of these vampires, they are too torn up by their time, by their life, and when she basically unalived herself, I was I from the sound of it, I can't really blame her in the situation. That sounds like a horrible, depressing life, and why hold out hope like that, especially for two strangers, and they are trying to build a life, to build a family and a community. Well, at least Claudia is. Louis does not, he is not really looking for other people. He's just here for Claudia.
Yeah, and I had mentioned earlier when we were talking that Louis used to be someone who was into community, because he was really into his community, his black community in Storyville, and in his human life, but also in his early life as a vampire. That's why he was so invested in the black community around, and lifting up his race and trying to, I think he was to the point where it's girl, well, fuck the white man, it's gonna be black only. This saloon is gonna be black only, okay? No whites allowed, all right? And that's why he was so adamant about that and protecting his people. But then I think after the Story of a Fire and creating Claudia, it's all of his guilt and shame from that incident is well, shit, I wanted to be for my community, but I hurt my community. Fuck. And I think he just sort of retreated, and then he projected all of that love and anxiety and pain and struggle. He projected that onto Claudia.
Yeah, and we will get into this a little bit later, but it was pretty unhealthy for Louis to basically he did become a little bit of a hoarder, and a bit isolationist as well, and that was not a healthy choice for himself.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But then, okay, so after they meet Daciana the vampire, and then she burned herself up, and I think that was so sad for Claudia because it's like, fuck, like she's like, I met four vampires in my life. Y'all are assholes. And then she finally met someone who not only was a vampire, but was a woman too, a woman and a vampire. So she like so many shit that they could have possibly connected on, and then she burned herself up. So Claudia was probably like so defeated after that. But then they go to Paris, and Paris is a completely different atmosphere from the rest of the world. I mean, Paris, obviously, historically, Paris was impacted by World War II. But, but as Louis says, Paris is making a comeback, and she's going to make her second act real quick. So, Paris was up and up when they were coming into it.
Yeah, like they were looking for a new life, and I think Claudia really wanted that chance to explore herself without the shadow of Lestat. And the ironic thing is, the shadow of Lestat is always around them because that the vampire cult they end up joining was like kind of heavily influenced. Like Lestat was kind of like their little godfather of that community.
Not even influenced. He started that shit. He was the founder. He was like, this is my thing, and like going back and forth with the 2022 interview plot line, Daniel Malloy is still interviewing them and shit. And, now Daniel is like, okay, after the reveal of, I've been talking to another vampire this whole time, he's kind of a little bit salty about that. And, he was playing Rashid in season 1, and now we have real Rashid. And he's like, hi, hey, real Rashid, how long did you know about this? And sort of stuff like that. And, like, I think it was very interesting to seeing more of Daniel trying to twist between what was true and what was lies. I think sometimes his own personal biases had him go a little bit too far and be a little bit insensitive. Like how back in season 1, he was like, okay, he's reading Claudia's diary and a page is torn out. And he's like, hey, this page is torn out. Where is it? And he's like, you don't need the page. You can infer what happened from the rest of it. You don't need the page. Because he's trying to protect, like, her, story about being victimized of, being R-worded. So, but he insisted, and then Louis had to put him in his place. Or, like, season 2, where he's talking about Paris, and, Daniel's like, Paris sucks, fuck Paris. Paris ain't shit, blah, blah, blah. Because of his own negative experience with Paris. But then, which I thought was, entertaining and funny. But then it goes into a little bit of, like, yikesy territory for me when, he speaks on Louis being black. I'm like, oh, well, 1940s Paris, and you didn't experience any racism? Ah. And it's like, okay, we didn't say that no racism existed. Louis was just saying it was easier to be black in Paris versus the Jim Crow South of America where they was lynching and doing all that other shit. Like, yeah, Paris had its shit, but like being black the racism didn't work the same way that it worked in the States. And I think especially like as someone who's supposed to be an academic and an intellectual, you should know that. You should know that the American racism is different from European racism, which is different from racism in other parts of the world. It's just like the shit works different.
Right. Yeah. Again, like Europe, like the racism in Europe was very different, and to the way it was like built, Europe had an infrastructure, and a way of doing things pre-colonialization in Africa and in slavery, and so honestly, I think Europe is kind of used to rebuilding their culture and having to reevaluate. America, though, that was like the founding premise for the
right.
We can't really get away from that. We can't really escape from the fact that the foundation of America as a country was founded on enslavement and labor of black people, and
it's more based on like colorism and what you look like, and because it's about who you are, like physically who you are, and those traits being passed down to your children and your phenotype. Versus Europe, there was colorism there, but it's more about your country of origin and where you're from, and because Europe, we all white, but it's like, okay, but I'm French, and then you're English, and then you from Russia, and then you from over here, and it's like mostly based on that sort of thing.
Yeah, like it and like the like it's also difficult because like again, like also just the population difference. Like there were like of course, like modern Europe is a lot more diverse, but like in that time period it was a little bit more limited. But but the thing is, like, I think like the Europeans of that time were a lot more, or at least in comparison to America, were a lot more lax. Like, they weren't like taught from like day one you are inherently above or like a different, like a higher caste as than this other type of person. There were still bigotries because like again, anti-Semitism in Europe. Don't even get me started there. But like, I thought that was like interesting in that for Louis and for Claudia to be able to explore that freedom a little bit and to sort of live that life. And I really loved, like, I don't know, the season keeps like taking shots at Louis and being like, oh, he's being so pretentious as an artist photographer. And I'm like, you know what? Like he's trying it out. He's got a hobby. He's not super talented. He doesn't have the amazing like, who does? I'm so Louis, like he's living his life free of his shitty ex-boyfriend, and let that's one of the main reasons I hated that I was like that, always ready for that coven to get burnt to a crisp, because I'm like, why the fuck are y'all up in his business? Like,
and like, but like, before I get into that, back to Daniel for a second. How did you feel about? Well, because I just felt like, girl, as a white man who didn't even live in that time period, don't tell a black man about his experience in that arena. Like, don't do that. But how did you feel about Daniel, like, sort of being able to parse through what was real and what wasn't with Louis?
I thought that was, like, on a lot of levels, it was very interesting. Daniel is I think is a very interesting character because, like, I think he's gay. He is gay, right? Like,
he's gay in the books. He is gay in the books, but in the show they make him straight, and they say that he did like gay things for drugs back in the day, but he's not gay.
I don't know. He still kind of reads as gay to me because, like, especially the way Armand like looks into his life, and he's like, "Oh, you fucked that girl wearing a paper bag over her head," and
a lot of book fans were really disappointed because in the books, Armand and Daniel are a couple for a period of time. So it's like
I think they're gonna. I won't get into that right now, but I do think I don't know that the way that the younger actor for Daniel played it when he like made a move on Louis, he felt like he's like, oh, I do want to get like it's not just like he wants the drugs, but also I think he genuinely wanted to like get laid with this cute guy. Hey, that's just
no. I think a lot. I mean, I love it because that's what he's supposed to be in the books. I just think that in general, not even just Daniel, but in general, people will underestimate what men are willing to do for drugs. I don't know. I think because I say this all the time. Sexualities are preferences. They are not doors. And what I mean by that is like and again, maybe I have this perspective because I'm bisexual, but like with all of my friends who were like strictly one or another, like my friend who's a lesbian, it's not that she can't kiss a man if she wanted to. She could kiss a man if she wanted to. She could have sex with a man if she wanted to, but she's just not interested in men. I don't care about men. I just want women. And but anywho, my point with Daniel is that I just feel like that's the direction they're going for with him, because I feel like if they were gonna do a queer relationship between him and Armand, they would have done it when he was younger. I don't see them doing it in the modern day, especially after what Armand did to him at the end of the season.
I don't know, like they're like the series has played a lot in like the idea of like unhealthy relationships between immortal beings. So like I'm curious, but I'm at the same time like, look, everyone in the show is very queer. I'm having a fun time with it. But I don't know, David did read as gay to me in the story, and But like, I do really like the way he's able to kind of call Louis on his nonsense, and he really and like, but like, I also feel like it had a sense of stakes. Like, I feel like in the last season, it just kind of had his perspective, and it was interesting. The actor did pull it off very well, but this season, it really did feel like he was in a race for his life. Like, he knew once we're done with the interviews, I'm probably going to be dinner, and he's like trying to figure out like, how do I get get a one up on Louis or on Armand. Like, how do I get a one up on a vampire? And he it's a very fascinating arc, and I like the way it culminated at the end of the season.
Do you think that Louis wanted to eat him?
I think they were gonna kill him. Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's like, I think that agent did infer or say he's done this before. He's killed other people who have interviewed him. He's like, this is not like, you are not unique. He's done this to other people, and you should like be aware you're probably gonna be killed. And like, the way they were like, at the end of the season, like, they were trying to like invite him into the dining room after the interview was like closed out. I was like, they're gonna kill him. Like, I was like immediately just like, and so, but like, I do like that had that sense of stakes for him, and it gave him a real cool climax like in his story. But I guess back on like, do we want like,
before we switch gears, I do want to respond to that. I think that maybe Armand would have found some way to try to kill him. I don't see Louis doing that. I don't. I think back in 1979, Louis lost control and his temper got the better of him, and that's why he bit him. But I think that Louis saw something in Daniel where it was just like, you are different from all of the rest, and I think that's why, 50 years later, he was still so titillated and interested to the point where he wanted him to interview him again. I don't think Louis wanted to kill Daniel.
I don't know. I think Daniel was a lot older then, and I think in many ways Louis still did kind of view him as like transactional. Oh, and at the time he was more in the favor of like, I don't want anyone like he was still abiding by like the vampire rules of like, we don't want this revealed publicly, blah blah blah.
But wasn't he breaking it already? Because he was going to publish. He was writing a book.
Well, but no, like, he was never going to let him publish it. Like, that's like
you think that he was never going to let him publish it?
Yeah, to me, I'm like, this is a therapy session to him. This is not him telling his story for like public consumption. Like, this is his like little therapy, and he's using that like as the cover of it. And like, I don't know. To me, like, it always felt very clear that this was going to escalate, and like, especially like season 2 with that secret agent sets it up very very astutely. This is what's going to happen. Like this he has done this before. You just happen to be very good at journalism, and like they talked about like, we have a trouble keeping our assets alive, and I'm like I do think that was very interesting. Like to get like really, and I think it did make me a little bit more attached to David this season.
Daniel.
Right, Daniel. So like this season to have it feel like he could be killed at any moment. Especially like, I feel like it did kind of show off the monstrous side of Armand and Louis on a human level. I do really like when the series like shows like the difference in power dynamics between the humans and the vampires. Like the thing is, like, I do fall in love with these vampires in a lot of ways in their scenes, but then they will put you in the perspective of the human, like the way Daniel was like, young Daniel was like fighting for his life, like, and you mustering all of his willpower to be like, I don't want to die, don't kill me, I have things to live for. And like Armand is trying to like lull him into accepting his death, and there's something like very perverse in that. I'm like, dude, just, if you're gonna fucking kill me, just fucking kill me. Don't try and like mold me into like being relaxed about it. But
then for the vampires, like, that it's not about you. It benefits that. It benefits them for you to be calm. It benefits because like they said, you can taste pain and you can taste fear in the blood, and it's like they would just prefer if you were calm and accepted it because on an emotional because like feeding is also a very emotional thing for vampires in the Antichrist universe. Like they can taste your emotions, and they just would prefer it's for you to just be calm. Now, in terms of Louis, I actually think it was the exact opposite. I think him writing this book was in a way his suicide because in the beginning of the series, Armand is like, I have no earthly idea why he's doing this, and then he was biting back at Daniel because he's like, how dare you judge Louis? Like he is citing his death warrant by putting out this book because he knows if he puts out this book, all the vampires are going to come for him because he's talking about. And they didn't really get into this in season 2. I wish they would have talked more about the Great Conversion, or like what all of the other vampires were like plotting in the modern day, because I do think that's a very, very real thing that Louis was talking about to Daniel. I think this is more of like this is my swan song, like I'm about to go, especially getting into like how, because like Louis and Armand portray what their relationship is like to Daniel, but like what their relationship is actually like, that's just, we'll get into that. But before we do, I guess just to keep with the chronological order of the timeline, Louis and Armand meet in Paris, and Louis and Armand is like, bitch, you're rude as fuck because you didn't introduce yourself. Like, who are you? Like, how did you feel about them meeting and getting introduced to the coven?
I thought that was very interesting, and I liked that it really got into how it was like I said this before, like in our last take, but Armand kind of always feels like he's a character that's looking to be offended, so that way he is able to put himself in the judgment position because he's used to being a judge. He's used to having that power and like being the decider. And like I think he wants to like kind of be like, oh, you guys should have known better, and so that way he can kind of shame them. And then have like an up on the power, and then like have them feel like they've stepped out, they've been rude, and then they have to play by his rules. That's at least my perception of him, in how he's like approaching this. Because I'm like I don't think it's fair. Like you can't like say someone's like breaking the rules if you never told them. Like at least that's just my opinion.
I agree with you. I do think that's his manipulative way of like always sort of being the judge. I think you said something earlier about how he's always sort of like peacocking to show his power and flex his muscles to the other vampires because he is way, 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 way more powerful than any other vampire there. Which is why, and I love how they established that early on. So I think they did the team is so smart. They did that on purpose. They showed how cunning and powerful he was early on purpose, so that later on, when he's like, "There's nothing I could. Oh my God, it's just a terrible accident. There's nothing I could do, girl. Bye, bye. Oh my God, like Armand is just like he plays every role he goes into masterfully, and I think Louis meeting Armand was just as much a seduction as Lestat was in season 1. I genuinely do. I think Armand saw Louis, watched him for weeks, and was like, I want him. I want him. So I'm going to do all this shit, and I know the shit about him, but I'm gonna manipulate it to where we're gonna meet organically, and he's gonna have to bend the knee, and he's gonna have to follow my ways because, fortunately for Lestat, and this was Lestat's fatal flaw in season 1, he was so scared about Louis and Claudia leaving him that Lestat did not arm them with the knowledge of the outside world and the vampires. That's why he was like, bitch, you want to go to Europe? I promise you do not want to go to Europe. You do not want to mess with those vampires. Those vampires are not nice, Claudia. Let's just stay in New Orleans, stay in America. Like, don't go to Europe. Europe vampires are fucking crazy. They didn't believe him because they're like, you're mean. So they're going to go and find the European vampires. But like, because Lestat did not arm them with the knowledge, that means that the new vampires that they're meeting can kind of prey on that and kind of tell them whatever they want, for their own benefit.
Yeah, like they're the ones who like are at the disadvantage and have to be told and like instructed, so to speak, and that does ends up fucking her over. Or like Louis, like they really should have gotten out of Dodge. Like the moment they saw like Lestat's photo on that wall, oh,
they should have booked it, man. They should have booked it. Yeah.
Yeah, they should have been in like, good luck, babe, bye, like out.
Literally.
just like that was like sitting on a bomb and like the not even a chair, a chair, the bomb is under the chair. That's like sitting on the bomb. Like and I'm like, it's not gonna go off. It's gonna go off. Get the fuck out of there.
But I think Claudia was just so ready to meet other vampires that weren't like Louis and Lestat. She was so ready to find a tribe of people, and Louis was so guilty, so he was so willing to like help her do those things that they got lost in the sauce with it. And then of course he has his own reason for staying, him sort of falling for Armand. So let me explain to the audience what's going on with the vampires. So the vampires, they are a coven of vampires, and there are, different groups of vampires around the world are called covens, but this is the Paris Coven. And what the Paris Coven does is they masquerade as a theater troupe. So what they do is every night they put on a play about vampires. They pretend to be vampires as a sort of cover, as kind of hiding in plain sight. So the audience is like, these are novelty, fake vampires for play, like they're not real, blah, 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 blah. Each night they pick a victim and they do this whole, vampire plot. I am seducing you. And, they do all of that. And it's a way for them to kill in plain sight without the audience being like, oh shit, y'all are monsters. So when the victims are on stage like, oh my God, save me, help me, help me, they think, oh, this is just, the play. Which I think is so brilliant. I think playing on the idiot, on the stupidness of people, how people just be stupid. I was like, because like, if it was me, with the knowledge I have, if it was me, modern day, I'd be like, now this bitch's name is not on the cast list. Is she an actor? I don't see her name on the program. Okay, the match is not matching. And how come I can't see the victim after the play? Where's she at? I don't know. But, people are stupid, so that's how they got away with that shit. But I just thought that was just such a brilliant plan. So that's what the Paris vampires do to, eat and do what they're gonna do. And they just sort of live in the theater. They love that shit. And the theater was actually founded by Lestat de Liancourt. So the tea with that is, back in the day, when Lestat was a young, new baby vampire, he was, Armand was leading the Paris Coven. Now, he used to be in this different coven called the Children of Satan, but that kind of didn't work out, whatever. So he ended up being sent over to lead the Paris Coven, and they lived by a very different set of rules. They were dark, they were drab, they were drear, and they lived very like draconian, old school medieval ways. But this is sort of like getting into like the Renaissance period, where like we're having new ideas and we're having new art and we're having new kinds of sex, and it's all kind of fun. And Lestat is like, I am a man of my era. I am a vampire. I am powerful. I'm going to be beautiful and majestic and powerful. And Armand is like, well, I can't have that, because then my people are gonna want to do that, and that's just not gonna be good. So he tries to like force and will Lestat into his way. But Lestat being Lestat, no matter what age, is like, I'm not going to do that. I'm powerful enough to do my own thing, and you're not going to seduce me into doing what you want. I'm going to do what I want. And actually, because I'm Lestat and I'm beautiful and powerful, I'm going to seduce you. So Lestat ends up seducing Armand and getting Armand to do what he wants, and all of his little coven darklings join Lestat and his crew, and they create this Paris Coven, and they think they're going to run it together, But then Lestat is like, okay, you're kind of crazy. I'm gonna go because Lestat has his first love, Nikki, and Nikki is a vampire and all of that, and that's who Lestat really loves. But you know, through circumstances, Lestat is like, this is some fucked up shit going on with this coven. I think specifically Armand. And he's like, I'm gonna get out of Dodge. I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
So, like,
and like from what we can are told, Mickey committed suicide due to, or unalived himself due to, like, he just couldn't handle being a vampire.
which was so weird because like a lot of people were so excited to see Nikki because he was a bigger character in the books and he lived longer. A lot of people think that he, unalived himself because Armand made him do it.
I would not be surprised if that turns out to be like a plot twist, like maybe that'll be revealed, like, or delved into next season, and maybe that'll become like a conflict between Armand and Lestat, and like Lestat will be like, oh, okay, I'm going to fucking kill you, because we like Armand, from what we see, has a habit of hiding certain secret details from his former lovers. So we'll see.
I have a question about Armand. Do you think that, because it's played up for like drama by Daniel, that Armand was with Lestat? Do you think, I think it's very clear about how Lestat feels about Armand. It's like, you are nothing to me, I don't care, you just are a means to an end so I can get what I want. But do you think that Armand genuinely had feelings for Lestat, or do you feel like Armand was also playing the long game? Because Armand was like, I didn't really like the satanic life either, and Lestat kind of gave me a way out of that, so I kind of took it. So, like, how do you feel about it?
I'm thinking about that through, because, like, the thing is, like, Armand's relationship with Lestat does have a readable grasp for power sort of situation, because that is what Lestat was doing in that coven. He was basically taking all of the power and twirling everyone's thumb around him. And we see Armand throughout the season is very desperate to do whatever he can to keep all the other vampires' approval and keep them like in tow with him. But like his relationship with Louis is the complete opposite. Like he gets no power benefit with Louis. So I'll be honest, I didn't really care about Armand and Lestat's like them bumping boots. I was like, okay, I was like, I didn't think about it that deeply. I'm like, well, of course they fucked at some point. Like the show didn't even dwell on that very long, so I wasn't really interested. But like, the thing is, I think they are both. But I do think like you bring up an interesting point, and now that you say that, I do honestly probably think Armand was kind of more in it for the power and for keeping a hold on the coven, and maybe that's honestly why like Lestat left, because from what we can tell, Lestat is attracted to people who have a real heart about things. Like it's like his former lover, I can't remember his name right now because he was like Mickey. Like Mickey and Louis feel like they do have resemblances to each other. They both have a passionate love for an artistic craft. For Louis, it's photography. For Mickey, it was the violin, and they both seem to have been very like head over heels in love in a much more like a way free of any like secondary motivation, power motivation. And I don't feel like Armand really had that with Lestat, but he did have that with Louis. And I think in a weird way, my honest guess is one of the reasons their relationship probably didn't work is because they were too similar. They were kind of like, they both wanted something that they lacked in themselves, and then when they went to each other, they thought, oh, well, maybe I'll find something with another person. But in actuality, he doesn't find anything. Like it's just more of the same absence.
I agree and disagree in certain ways. I think for me, I was looking for more parallels between Lestat and Armand because the book girlies, and I have a similar issue with the House of the Dragon fandom because TV show versus books. But the book girlies for Interview with the Vampire were so hype about Armand specifically because, like, in the books, Armand is obsessed with Lestat. His backstory is that, like, he loves Lestat. Like, he loves Lestat like fucking, like, he's obsessively in love with Lestat. And the reason why he goes after Louis in the book is because I can't have Lestat, but like I can. This is as close as I'm gonna get to being with Lestat, being with someone who's been with Lestat and who Lestat loves. So, because like in the books, it's, you know, he's obsessively in love with Lestat, and he falls in love with Louis, or pretends to, at least at first, because he just wants to be close to Lestat. And then he even gets to the point where he physically keeps Louis away from Lestat in the books, because he's like, I'm gonna get my revenge on you for rejecting me, because he's kind of crazy ex-girlfriend about it. He's kind of psycho gremlin about it. So I was kind of like, well, where is that at? Because like that was a huge part of the
I didn't
books,
get.
but then where was that at in the season?
But like the thing is, like, I don't know, like I feel like when you do that, like I get doing that for a book, because Lestat, from everything I've heard, is like Anne Rice's favorite character, or everyone's kind of in love with him. But I kind of liked in the show that Louis and Armand have formed like this interesting, like they were in love, but there was a betrayal, you know, and like, but they're like, okay, we're gonna be together despite our problems, like it, like in it, and like their relationship, from what we see, like for a long time, does seem to have been pretty compatible, because they were together for almost a century, but at the same time, though, I really do. I don't know. Like, I kind of liked the angle better that they just went with, that like Louis and Armand are really into each other, or like, you know, Lestat is not like a present figure, because like the thing is, like, if that is the thing, then his betrayal of Louis doesn't matter as much. Like, you know, like I feel like putting the like the actual focus on just like about Louis moving away from Lestat and Armand, because like the thing is, like, you know, like Armand being obsessively in love with Lestat is always going to be dwarfed by Louis, because we had a whole first season with Louis. So I'm kind of glad they just sort of like were like, okay, let's just play Armand being in love with Louis and have the complications come from that. But that was like, I don't know, I liked that better. I don't know, just sort of like from the description of it. Maybe it'll be different if I read the books, but I liked the way the show went about that.
Yeah, I think they played it like that, just to a smaller degree, because the story that Armand told was that he fell in love, he fell for Lestat, he was seduced by Lestat, but then Lestat, you know, ghosted him and he broke his heart and he has never loved again. And I think I want to believe that that's true, because that would humanize, you know, Armand. But Armand has this dichotomy where he's like, he's so puppy and he's so sweet and he's so baby boy, and you just want to like hold him, but then like while you're holding him, he's about to stab you in the back, because that the whole puppy dog thing was a distraction. So I want to believe that that's the way that happened, but I think what actually happened was they were in some sort of relationship, obviously, but then Lestat saw through Armand and saw that Armand was fucking crazy, and he got the fuck out of Dodge. I think he told that whole like sympathetic story about Armand, about Lestat seducing and leaving him, to endear himself to Louis, so Louis can be like, oh, he did us both wrong, and we're both just victims of the big old meaningless Lestat. Like, I think that that's why he was telling the story in the way that happened.
Possibly. Like, I think maybe it's also possible Armand just like Louis did say, like, you're fucking boring. Like, you know, maybe like Armand is just kind of one of those people who's a stable partner but doesn't have a lot going on. And that's like kind of why, like, he doesn't bring a spark to the relationship. Because like the thing is, like, I like Lestat, as much as I enjoy his character, he gets bored very easily from what we see. He does, yeah. Like, I would not be surprised he just kind of ditched Armand because he's like, you bored me. He's someone who does kind of. But
you know what's interesting when you say that? He stayed with Louis for like a decade when Claudia was gone, and Louis was like severely depressed. He didn't move. He didn't go outside. They weren't intimate. He's just sitting in the house reading, being boring. And Lestat endured that for 10 years. I think that's just because like he was in love with him at that point, and it was just like, you're my epic love, so I have to stay with you. But it's just like, ooh, like knowing Lestat gets bored easily and he stayed through that shit, that's telling.
Yeah, it was very interesting to like relook on that in like from Lestat's angle in the relationship, because we kind of like in season one it gave the impression like Louis is just like a concerned parent and like Lestat's not being considerate of that, but like at the same time though, like when looking at it from Lestat's perspective, like he's like, Claudia has gone out on her own. She has made the choice to leave for herself. She is a vampire, or she is like not something I can really control in the same way I could control a child. And he is just and he's like, okay, can we move on? But like, and it what and like Louis was choosing making an unhealthy decision. Like I understand it is not easy to break out of a mourning cycle. Oh, but like from what we see, that is a very difficult thing Louis like does not really do. Louis like when Louis has experienced loss, he is not really able to move on from it very cleanly. And you know, I don't think Louis like was the like anyone who says like, oh, it was an equally bad, or like, and I'm like, no, like Louis was still the if anyone was abused in this relationship, Louis was abused by Lestat. But I can understand Lestat feeling very neglected in this relationship and in this dynamic, because especially like, you know, when you do love someone and they neglect not only you but themselves, it does hurt. It does hurt to see like someone you love like lose that spark in them, and that you try to beckon them back into life and they're just not being receptive to you at all. Oh, and like that's not abuse. At worst, that's neglect. But at the same time,
yeah.
But like, I do like that it kind of is at least a little bit critical of Louis, but also doesn't like try to ever say Louis was like Louis is actually the real, like, because I feel like the story kept a very hard focus on the fact Louis was the victim of this relationship and the power balance here, or like I found that, I don't know, I just found that to be very, very like I was surprised the writing was able to do that like so well while still giving Lestat's perspective in the relationship. And especially like the fact of having him take honestly, one of the few scenes where I've ever seen like someone who's been abusive in a relationship sort of take responsibility, and I buy it. Like or at least like I don't like, that is entirely for Louis to choose if he forgives or not. But like at least for me, like watching this, I'm like, I at least believe Lestat recognizes the true horrors of what he did and does truly feel horrible. And I don't know, like, I don't know if that's the writing or the acting or just a coalition of both being absolutely perfect, but it was an astounding scene. I like rewatched that scene like 4 times. I was just like, damn, it was so like this series and these actors and these performances will always grab your heart. Like, damn.
Yeah. We get into the trial scene. So after, you know, that, we get into more of them joining the coven and falling in love together. You know, we kind of see the coven culture. They live together, they work together, they hunt together, they feed together, they do all these things together, and it's this big community, and Claudia wants to be a part of it. And Claudia sort of has to do this whole, kind of like a sorority, or a fraternity,
like a pledge,
initiation,
yeah.
like a pledge, and she has to kind of work her way up through the coven, and that's sort of interesting to see, because like they're kind of torturing her a little bit, but like she kind of they frame it as like her building character, and she's enjoying it because she finally feels like she has a home and a place where she belongs, and Louis loves that for her, but Louis is like, I don't want to join this coven, but he does want to join Armand in bed. So I loved seeing them sort of like fall for each other because I didn't expect it to because I'm such a hardcore Louis and Lestat shipper, but I think it was something really beautiful about seeing these two broken baby birds being like, I've been hurt before and I'm hesitant to get into this thing, and Armand is like, I'm also hurt. I've also been really hurt, and I'm also like, I'm also hesitant to get into this thing because you know I've lived for way longer than you. I've been through all this trauma and abuse and shit, and it's just like I found that really interesting, and I also found that. While ultimately I feel like Armand seduced Louis in a very similar way to what Lestat did, I just think that like Armand was way more subtle about it. Like I think when you compare Armand and Lestat's like manipulation game, Lestat is playing checkers and Armand is playing checkers.
Yeah, I kind of like would say like. Yeah, like Lestat like drowns Louis in a single wave, but Armand was like this like drowns Louis like drip drip drip, one drop at a time. That was like my impression of that. But like ultimately both of them drown him. Both of them like kind of come into his life, make him feel a certain way, and then destroy it.
But you know about Armand and Louis, I was about to say like, and tell me if you agree or not. It just felt like their relationship in the beginning was more. It felt more organic and wholesome. Like with Lestat, it was a seduction, and you knew it was a seduction. Everyone could tell from a mile away it was a seduction. But from Armand and Louis, it was sort of like. They just started like just kind of talking, and it just felt like they just started opening up and trusting each other, and I felt more of like a mutual thing they had going on between them, and like there was this mutual attraction, and it was really I don't know what another word to say, but like it was really sexy to see a confident Louis like go after someone he wanted and like be confident about it, because I think a big reason why the relationship with Lestat was so tumultuous in, you know, the 1910s is it's not only that Louis was learning how to be a vampire, he was learning how to be gay. Like he was learning how to be an out gay man, and he didn't really know how to navigate that and how to accept himself. And I think that a big part of the whole like you're neglecting our romance sort of thing, like. Came from that a little bit. I think the whole "you'll never love me," just say Louis, just say you'll never love me. I think Lestat blamed that on Claudia. I don't think that was on Claudia. I think the reason why Lestat was saying "I love you" and Louis didn't was because Louis is homophobic. Louis is internalized homophobia, and like that's what he's dealing with. And I think that that's a struggle that he didn't really have in the Armand relationship, but that's not something that hindered them. But I don't know. How do you feel about them falling in love with each other and how that went in Paris?
It definitely did feel more like a flirtation in the building of a dynamic. Though, like, part of me also wonders about, like, is it also because it was a more distant period of time and there was, like, at the time, Louis was less traumatized from the relationship as well. Like, he does portray Lestat as, like, kind of coming in and dominating him, and like that was a time of his life where he had less power and agency over himself, so there is that understandable angle. But like I will say I did really like seeing Louis just as himself, as this guy who, like, basically everything he could ever have wanted to really be. This is him uninhibited by by his background, by his losses, by all of it. Like, the only thing that really, like, inhibits him is his relationship with Lestat, who, like, we see over the course of years, he slowly starts to get over in his, like, as, like, Claudia forms her own identity. We got to get back to her eventually. But also, when, like, he's, like, trying to move on from, like, and into Armand. And and it was really beautiful and sexy, like, seeing them, like, develop a very emotional, like, more equal level type relationship. And like I do really buy that Armand was in love with Louis. Like he did stick it out and he did like do a lot of things and was taking a lot of risks with the coven. And the fact that it did put like the desire like Armand's conflict like desires in conflict was very interesting.
I had a question, but then I lost it. I think I was gonna say, do you feel like what was sexy about it to, because what was sexy about it to me was I got to see Louis from another man's perspective, and not because like with Louis and Lestat, seeing Louis from Lestat's perspective, he was being hunted, he was being chased, he was prey at first. But with seeing Louis in season 2 from Armand's perspective, it's like he's just this guy. Like, he's this guy, and he's cute, and he's mysterious, and he takes pictures, and he's like artsy, and it's like it was so interesting seeing Armand try to figure him out, and like yeah, I thought that was a really interesting dynamic. Like Armand was also chasing Louis, but it was in a more like natural, organic-y kind of way. And I really appreciated that. I also really appreciated that Armand kind of called Louis out on his bullshit a bit and was like, cause like he can read minds, obviously. Like I know what's going on in your mind, but like I think because Louis is a bit of an older vampire, he can kind of cloak it a little bit better. But Armand is still kind of like, there's something going on with you, and I'm trying to figure you out, but
Yeah, I did like that. I did like that, like, like, I don't know, like, getting a perspective in the relationship that was not solely from Louis' perspective was very, very fascinating and refreshing and fun to see, because, like, like, I do love in stories when we do get, like, multiple POVs. Like, that's one of the reasons I love Carry On and Game of Thrones so much. You get to see different characters from different perspective. Like, in Game of Thrones, like, there's a character, Stannis Baratheon, every time you see him, like, he's very different. And it's because I think he's a different person to every different POV that meets and interacts with him. So, like, one scene he's like this cold douchebag. The other scene he's this very, a more astute, thoughtful, easily persuaded, and politically considerate and savvy kind of guy. I like that. I like that a lot when in stories because like, like when you are in the POV, like a lot of writers will do this, like they kind of forget to make the character a bit crazy, a bit bad, they kind of like, I think a lot of weakness a lot of writers have is they lean into the POV being too sympathetic, and I like it when the POV actually acts a little bit more unhinged. I think that's also why Leos in Dungeon Meshi is so interesting to people. Well, it's because he's a weirdo. It's because he's a little free, he is not a normal person in the way traditional fantasy heroes go about things. Like he's not he's a genuine character. He's not an insert, like a blank slate you can self-insert on. And I think we are really more gravitating towards characters who have something weird going on with them in their psychology. I liked that, just being able to see both of these characters from different angles and how they perceived each other and how that evolved. And I liked Ghost Lestat. Ghost Lestat was very charming and interesting, and it was a really good half season arc, seeing Louis slowly progress to moving on from that, because it is really difficult to let go of your first love, and especially a first love that did not treat you well. It's a process, but then yeah.
Now, the last sort of angle I'll take before we move on to more Claudia stuff with their Louis and Armand is, I think that something that bothered me, and if you follow me on TikTok, you saw me talk about it on TikTok. this season felt weirdly sexless, and I don't understand why. Like season one, like we were getting into it. We were having levitating sex in the air, and like there would just be kind of casual scenes where like they're fucking. Like there would be scenes where Claudia sees Louis sneak into Lestat's coffin, and then they kissy in the coffin. Like we just saw more of that in season one, and in season two, it's like I think they kissed maybe once or twice. And I don't like, or even like the scene where it's like they're about to fuck for the first time, and it's like, it was kind of like this like 1940s sort of movie scene where it's like, I'm going to my room, don't follow me, and it's like, of course I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna follow you to your room, and then like we'll kind of the next episode they're in bed together, but like they're on episode like Louis is on one way of the bed, and then Armand is like flipped over, and he's completely diagonal, and he's like on the other side of it, and it's like, what? I don't know, and it's like there's no big like consummation of love scene. There's just like there's one scene where they fuck in the office, and I was like, okay, thank you, we finally getting into something. But outside of that, it's like, where is the sex, y'all? Or like even like I think there was more vivacious sex when Louis was bashing that guy's head in the park, when he was having anonymous sex in the park. But I don't know, like, did you notice that, or this season felt like it wasn't really giving in like the sex department? What do you think?
I agree with you. I do think there was a lot less sex, and it was a lot less sexy. Like we only got like one real thing where they were like screwing in the theater, but like even then it didn't dwell on it very long. But like I understand why. Like the thing is, by this point, like Louis and Lestat are not the sole focus and the only real characters in the story. By this point, we've got Louis, we've got like Claudia, and Louis. It's not just his like the forming and the sexy aspect of his relationship. He's dealing with the grief over Lestat. He's dealing with Armand. Armand has his cult with like a bunch of different people he has to keep in line. I mean, like the cast has expanded, and there's a lot of other story elements going on. So like, I think that's just kind of a natural thing that's going to happen, when you have a larger cast, and more focus on other things. Like, so I don't like. I feel like that was inevitable. At least to me, I don't feel like that was like them trying to lean away from sex. At least that's not my perception.
I think that's a very charitable way to look at it. I don't think that they were necessarily like, oh, we're gonna be anti-sex now. It just felt like, to be honest, it really felt like in season one, they went all out with sex in the first episode to draw viewers in, to like shock viewers. But oh my god, like I remember like when the first episode of the show dropped, the rounds went on Twitter for weeks, and people were like, girl, what is this? Like, oh my god, that fucking there. And like that's what got a lot of people into the show. And then like, okay, well now we have an audience, so now we don't have to do that shit no more. But I'm like, okay, like maybe we don't have to do it as much, and maybe it doesn't have to be as shocking. But it's like, I do think the intimacy of the characters, like, I do think that is an important thing to show, and I think that does do a lot for the visual aspect of the story. Not just because yes, I am gay and I do like to see it, but it's more than that. I do feel like if you strip the show of its sex, I do think that artistically that takes away more of it. Because like even the scene where like the big one everyone talks about where they're levitating in the air, it's not just them levitating for levitating's sake. It's literally like Louis is letting himself go for the first time and letting himself truly be taken by a man. And like that's for someone who's closeted DL and black in the 1910s, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. And I just think that something was missed by them not leaning as much into it as they could have this season.
I don't know. I don't really feel like we missed anything personally. Like I just feel like there was a lot of plot going on. There was a lot of characters, and when we I don't know. Like I definitely think our society, especially since Game of Thrones, the TV show, has made people very sex averse in media, and I think it's just kind of, like, honestly, I feel like at this point some people act like sex in itself is like a curse, and there's definitely been like some younger people who I think who have gone like even a little bit like right wing a little bit, it like be like in how anti-sex they are or and stuff. But I'm kind of, I don't know, just like I'm fine with it. I don't know. I don't really like, you know, I do feel like there was still like you know, like you said, there was a lot of charisma in the relationship building and whatnot, and I don't know. I wasn't like as like super into the sex, and honestly, I like at times, like, you know, sex scenes can be a little bit like, okay, can we get back to things actually happening? Like you said, like season one, there was like a big emotional factor to that, like that release for Louis. This is like the first time, but like I don't know. I don't feel like it's as like when he has sex later with other characters, it's as big a thing. I think it is more of a big thing when he forms an emotional connection, like he did with Daniel during that interview thing when they were like going a little cuckoo banana pants, and but I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. I'm just kind of good with like what we got. I'm fine. I don't get any vibe they were like trying to be less sexy or less anything. Like the fact that the show is again having a black and a South Asian man and be the prime couple of the season. I don't know. I just like, I'm like, we're already like outside the realm of tradition and like severely. So I'm like, I don't really see like why they would feel like fearful of portraying that.
Yeah. All right. I see your point. Now moving on to Claudia. Claudia is like, essentially she was really hyped to be with these vampires. She was so hyped. She's like, oh my god, the vampires are the cool women vampires. Oh my god, this is so amazing. Oh my god, I want to join. And then she joins, and then it's like, okay, you're going to be an actress now, and you're going to play a 5-year-old for the rest of time. You're going to play this role for the next 80 years. And she's like, um, wait a minute, cut the cameras. Because I do think that, like, I don't know what it was. I think from the moment they met Claudia, they planned on killing her. I think they didn't really need the trial thing with us. They didn't need that because they were gonna kill her anyway. Because from their perspective, she shouldn't exist. And I think the whole her making her play a child for elongated periods of time, I just feel like that was their way to like fucking torture her and them to enjoy that shit. I think they just got a kick out of knowing that like that would slowly drain her spirit. And I do think that Armand was a part of that. I do think that that was very intentional on Armand's part as well. Of like, you know, we're gonna get a kick out of torturing this girl, because he even said to like Louis on one of their dates, girl, she's gonna die eventually anyway, because there's no, from their perspective. I'm not saying this is right, but from their perspective, her mind is only going to be able to hold up in that body for so long before it just goes insane. So she's got to go anyway. So that's how I felt about that. How did you feel?
I always kind of viewed it like, I don't know, like I did view it as genuine, but now that you like say that, it did feel like at times they were treating her like a novelty. But like, I think what was really interesting about her though is she finds a way to impress them despite being viewed as a novelty. He her thing becomes super popular, but then they become very jealous of the fact she sort of stops trying, and I'm like, I don't know. I didn't feel like there was quite an intentionality to that, because like, you know, she does have the look of a child, and you like, and having her portray and play that, like does, you know, it is like playing to your audience in a way. You know, like having a child character like, or a childish character play a child, but like at the same time though, I think like I do believe Armand from experience thought like, okay, young vampire, like, yeah, vampires made too young will snap, but I don't know. I don't feel like Armand at the time, like on set, planned to kill her. I think they were like, this will probably end up being what's happening, but we'll give her the leeway for now, and it does, like I definitely like I don't know. I feel like some of the vampires, like even the head vampire did respect Claudia a little bit. Like he did like her a little bit. I felt like there was like some actual compassion and respect and admiration, and but like at the same time, I honestly for like a second really though thought that they were more like again like kind of like getting mad about like Louis' like freedom and getting up on Claudia because like I think the head guy was kind of jealous that she was becoming the more like popular member of the troupe and to the audience, and I definitely think he was like kind of pissed off that like Louis got this sort of freedom and was like and he was always kind of and like I honestly think like there was like specifically a parallel built in between the head actor guy who is the youngest of all the vampires.
His name was Santiago.
With Santiago and with Claudia, because they were both like technically speaking on the younger end, but like he's like an adult who got turned into a vampire, but she's a child who got turned into a vampire, and they're like so they're both on the younger end, and like I think like the thing is like he has like carved out his name in a sense. He is the younger person in the troupe, but now he's like got this like he's like okay, I'm the lead, I have all this respect. But then if you have someone who comes in who's even younger and suddenly they're even getting more than you, I think that did piss him off. I think that did make him envious. And like he wanted the power of Armand leading the coven. He wanted to be like the head actor, and he envied the freedom Louis enjoyed. So like I think like honestly, I don't think he even gave a fucking shit about Lestat. I think he just used that as an excuse to push everyone at like he didn't like out of power and promote himself. That's at least my view of Santiago.
I agree with the last half of what you said. I agree that he was very jealous of Louis. I agree that he was jealous of Claudia. I agree that he was especially jealous of Claudia when she had the fame when she didn't even want it. When it's like everyone loved her being the little baby doll, but she didn't even give a fuck. It's like you're more popular than me without even trying. I completely agree with that. What I disagreed with was like the respect and admiration. I was like, where was it? Because I think the whole coffin scene where she's reading the diary and all of that, I think that that was just him trying to be cunty, and that was just him trying to, get her to trust him so he could. Because I think any information, because he was at that point he was fishing for information about those two, and I think he wanted anything he could get on them to expose them, and I think physically opening her diary and reading it in front of her would have been too on the nose for him. So he was like, no, I'm not going to read it. Here you go. We're friends. Yeah, you can gossip. You can tell me shit. But it's like he wanted to establish trust between them. I don't think that was genuine.
I don't know. I think about that scene where he, like she's asking about how he does that, and he like almost seems to like that she's a fan. And like he's like almost like kind of like does seem like thinks like, oh, you're kind of like you want to be like me, and I'm like, maybe you can't, like I don't know, like like the way celebrities can kind of at first be like, of course you can, hon, and like
but that's just that, but that's not like that like her stroking his ego and him liking his ego being stroked, like that's not a sign of respect. That just means, oh, I appreciate you stroking my ego.
I don't know. It felt like at the time he saw a bit of himself, like before the envy kicked in, and he saw a young person who wanted to prove themselves in like the acting sphere here and whatnot, and like I think there was like a degree of respect and empathy in that moment, but like it slowly turned into real envy as he got outshined.
Rather than like a vampire to vampire basis, I do think within the leadership of the coven and the coven in general, I can't agree with them respecting and liking Claudia, but then wanting her to do the scene, knowing about her body dysmorphia, not even just knowing about that, okay? But then she does it for years, and then she says, I don't want to do it anymore. It feels like my soul is being crushed. And they're like, and continue to do it, bitch. It's like you don't. Okay, well then you don't respect her. Like you don't care about her. And I think and from my perspective, I think that that was an intentional thing they did to drive her crazy because at least I think the leadership of the coven they knew that they were gonna kill her. It was just a matter of when.
I don't think I don't know. For me, I didn't get that vibe, and that I think they did make that play for her, or like in their own little way. They thought it would be like a fun little thing for her, but like I think Claudia was always kind of built different, and they did kind of build into this. But like the way we see the other vampires are really kind of very used to doing the exact same routine every day. A like that they loved like doing the exact same performance over and over and over. Like they are not people who really like care to do change. They almost feel like like a clip, like a YouTube clip, like going over and over, like it's not gonna change, and they're fine with it. They're like
Well, but it's not about repetition. It's about pain. And Claudia didn't mind having a routine, but it's like her body dysmorphia being triggered every single like that's what she had a problem with. It wasn't she didn't have a problem being a team player. She was like, I will literally do anything else but this because it hurts me. And they're like, no, we don't care. We don't care.
I don't know, like it read to me more like they're like, oh, we made this great performance, and it's really popular. So
and you're ungrateful because you don't love it, and it's like I can see that perspective, but then it's like, ow, like how can you say I care about you and I fuck with you, and you're telling me like imagine you're like, hey Max, this hurts me, and I'm like, I don't care, keep doing it. I don't care.
Well, like I think that's the unfortunate thing that happens when you're in a business like that. Like you like are in that sort of like thing. Like you're like this is popular. Like keep like oh like like we take like and that's the thing with a lot of creative industries. Like a lot of people in creative industries are afraid to take risks, are afraid to do changes because they're afraid if we do a change, it's not going to be as popular as the thing we did before, and then that thing we did before it's ruined and we can't do it again.
And that means ultimately that you care more about the business and the art than that person. And like that's fine if that's what it is, but like, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's rain.
Yeah, but like you were saying, like that you think that like they were trying to set her up to go crazy. I just don't.
Yeah,
that was not my vibe. At least like when watching the story, it didn't feel like they were like actively malicious yet. Like Oh, I think like there was like there was a genuine buildup of anger and resentment and over Louis, like in his freedom that slowly boiled over into Claudia. Like especially like when she was like to them, they were like, oh well, we put all this effort into this performance and gave you a great role and you're not grateful for it, and because like I feel like the writer and the designers of the set and probably were like, well, this is popular, so I've done a good job here, but now you don't want my work to be happen anymore. Like there is like at least that side to it, Oh, and like
there is that side to it, but like for me, I don't think that's more like okay. So for them, the most charitable way I can look at it is they loved Claudia and they thought she was great, but this role that they did made a lot of money and it was really beneficial for the coven, and it symbolized like a lot of their hard work and achievement, and that was great. But it made Claudia as a member of their coven feel terrible and want to die, and I care about that more than like the dressmaker and how great of a dress it was, because it was a cute dress. It was a cute dress, if I'm being honest. I just think that like Claudia's the way she feels about it matters more. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I do want to get into the dressmaker though, because I do find her relationship and her character to also.
What is her name? I'm forgetting it. Madeline. I love Madeline down. I love her so great. Like Madeline is just like one of my favorite vampires right now. Like, okay. Actually, I'm curious about specifically how you feel about her, because her backstory is a little because they were drawing swastikas like on her little shop, and I was like, why are y'all defacing her shop with the swastikas? But like, I guess that's like what happened was she hooked up with this boy who was a Nazi, and I guess she didn't know he was a Nazi when they hooked up, and then like ever since then she's kind of been branded as like this Nazi woman, but she's really not. How did you feel about that?
Well, the thing is, like, look, I am the kind of person. When I first heard like she slept with a Nazi, I'm like, oh fuck her, kill her. But like, the more like, but like the way she explained it, at least in my reading of it, it's that like she was like not like like not really aware. And like again, like I did have to sort of think about this. I'm like like in that time period, it's not like we have like iPhones and we have like the full information, in even in that time period. And like and honestly, again, a lot of the punishment stuff that was leveled against her did not feel like they were doing it because justice for Jewish people and the people who are victimized by Nazis. It kind of just more felt like they were taking advantage of Nazis are evil, so let's use this excuse to harass someone. And like that honestly is because I'm like when I'm taking stock of her as a person, she doesn't seem to have any actual Nazi ideology. She does not seem to she at worst she describes it like just a sad lonely boy who was a Nazi and got like conscripted and she just felt bad for him and like develop like and and I'm like, and I still find that in its own way repulsive, but I don't know. At the same time, when those people came in and like they were her, like I'm like, look, I don't know. Like the thing is, I feel like if you respected anyone, and you would just like not just don't pursue like like business at her hovel. Well, like why do you need to be like drawing a swastika at all gives a very negative impression to me, because that's a very like horrific symbol. Well, like on that represents a lot of terrible things. So like there almost felt like not detached, but like a very like it almost felt belittling. Like honestly, I felt more annoyed by the people harassing Madeline, and because I'm like, you don't care, you don't really care about like any about the like you just know the Nazis were the enemies to you. And just because because you're French, because like you don't care about like the people who are like the main targets. So like that's like at least for and I'm like, and like I have met people like that. Like that is a very common problem, especially in America, I would say, where people are like, oh, the Nazis are terrible, but I'm like, okay, but do you know why they were terrible? Like that's like my kind of thing. Like that's like what like a lot of other Jewish people are very critical of like the Captain America like First Avenger movie, because like Captain America's like, I don't like bullies, and I'm like, the Nazis were more than bullies. Like be for fucking real. Like they were committing mass genocide. You getting like not liking people like being rude to you and like shitty to you in your town and life is not the same thing as them like mass exterminating Jewish, Romani, disabled and queer and black people. Like let's like that's at least how it was to me. And like honestly, when Claudia killed them all, I'm like, you know what? Not like you guys were doing anything right. Go ahead, like you weren't fighting anti-Semitism. You weren't fighting against like I'm like, why are you beefing with some like dressmaker woman? And like I'm like, honestly, when we saw the whole thing with her getting like publicly shaved and shamed like that, I'm like, look, if there was gonna be a punishment for, I honestly even that in itself felt very misogynistic. But like I'm like, you know what? If there was a punishment for that sort of act, I feel like she's already had it. Like I feel like that.
For me with Madeline, when her backstory to me at first was very strange. Like when they were drawing the swastikas on her store, I was like, oh, well, they're bullying her because she's a Nazi, so she must deserve it. But then when she got into her backstory, it was like, oh, you're not a Nazi. You're just, kind of a slut a little bit. And like, I'm joking. I'm not really calling her that. But you just kind of wanted to have some sex, and you did. But like, I was kind of confused. I was just like, well, how does everybody know about that one time you had sex? Like, what was it in public? Like, why does the whole town know? And then but then it's like, I don't know. It just felt kind of weird to me. Like, I agree with everything you said about like them not actually caring about the Nazis and like they were just wanting to harass the woman. But then I was just sort of like, when she first told it to me, it was just like, are y'all trying? I don't know what y'all are trying to say. Is it like poor me? I slept with a Nazi and not everyone's. I don't know. Like, it was just kind of odd. Like, so that part of her backstory, I just found to be strange. I just felt like they needed her to be in peril so Claudia could rescue her, and then they could form their relationship from there. Then from there, her character goes way up because, she's amazing. She's Madeline. But the Nazi part of it, I was just like, well, she's not actually a Nazi, so I can't hate her. But then it's like, she's been harassed for it, and it just feels like y'all are harassing her for no reason, and we need you to harass her so that Claudia can kill you for harassing her, so they can have their relationship. It wasn't deep.
Like, I feel like they could have leaned into the idea of, like, they could have made Madeline Jewish-ish and, like, that, like, it was, like, some Nazi skinheads in France that were harassing her or something. But, like...
That would have been so much better.
But, like, at the same time, though, like, if I'm just being honest, I could see this happening to a real woman in that time period. I'm
but
not...
How would they know? Like, how would they know that she had sex with the Nazi? Like, how would they know that?
I don't know. Maybe they found, like, that someone saw it through a window. Maybe they saw him go into her store, and just the fact that, like, he did, like, it was, like, late at night. They're like, oh, she's having sex because, like, yeah, like, in that time period, if you're not married and a guy stays over at your place, what do you think he's doing? Like,
Yes.
And so he, she got publicly shamed, but the thing is, I'm like, when I saw that scene, and I still, like, I was kind of fighting this, like, ick feeling with her in a lot of her scenes, but then when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I feel like at this point, like seeing that, I'm like, I feel like she, she got as much punishment as I feel like she kind of needed.
Like, she didn't deserve to be attacked and, like, R-worded. She didn't.
That was like especially like them coming into her shop and continually harassing her. I'm like, guys, like what are you doing at this point?
And there was a woman in that trio doing it too, and I was like, what do you get out of this? Like what do you get? Like, how do you, like, you torturing, like, what, as a woman, what do you get from torturing this other woman about this? I don't get it.
Yeah, like, look, I don't know. There's a lot of Gentiles who will, like, sort of jump on the Nazi hate train, but they don't actually care about, like, the actual reasons and the actual problems with Nazism. They just see this thing as an emblem of evil. So I can act like however I want, and use the justification of like I want to act out violently or shittily, and because, like, this thing is the embodiment of evil, anything I do is kind of I can do it, like, that's at least and it does hurt, when to have, like, your marginalization and, like, your people's losses kind of belittled. Yeah, like, it did, like, belittled to just, like, have, so, like they can have the excuse to act out. So, like, I don't know, like, to me that did feel kind of real. That was my impression, like, coming at it from my family experience, and my experience, like, dealing with Gentiles and, like, how they talk about Nazi, it doesn't often come from a position, like, a lot of the Nazi hate doesn't come from, like, actual empathy towards, like, marginalized people like that. So like, yeah, like, I don't know, that I was fine with it. I think her, like, and also, like she fell in love with a black girl. Like, she's not a Nazi. That's...
Yeah, but, with Madeline, it did bring up a question for me that I guess I hadn't thought about before. I mean, I thought about it in the sense of, like, people get really disturbed because there's this video of Hitler, like, I think this was a couple years before he died. There's this, like, video of Hitler, like, he's kind of dancing and celebrating at one of his little parade things. And, like, it is the most unsettling video I have ever seen in my life. Because you're watching, like, a real life, like, actual real monster. But, like, he's just sort of, like, carrying on, like, as if he's a normal person. And stuff like that scares people because it's like, if he looks like me and walks like me and talks like me, who can I be evil, and can the people around me be evil? So I thought about that before, but in terms of Madeline, I never thought, like, what if your boyfriend was a Nazi, or your grandfather, or your brother? Like what? And like what if like they were and you weren't? And like how would that make your life hell? Like
Yeah,
I
like
guess
that
I
that
have
is
never.
that is a thing that happened in that time period, you know? Oh,
Yeah.
so like I wasn't like I don't know, like I at the end of the season when I was like all said and done, I was thinking about that. I'm like, that is that would realistically be a thing that happened in that time period, and I am not averse to them portraying it and getting into it like as like, and I don't think they were like saying like you know, saying Nazis are victims or anything. I think they were saying like I think they made it very clear Nazis are terrible and evil, but like there were other like you know, people didn't always act with manners about like the like or act properly about the way they should be hating on Nazis, you know. That's just the truth of
So would
it.
you say like, cause like, because in terms of like my situation with black people and oppression and slavery and chattel slavery and all of that, uh, from a black perspective, it's always been like, yeah, but like your great grandfather was complicit in slavery, but you benefited off of the backs of that for years. So yeah, you're not racist per se, but like you benefit from that system, and to an extent, you are held accountable to that a little bit. Do you feel like that applies to like Nazis and like their relatives and family members, or is it like different?
Like I don't feel like I have it in me unless it's maybe the parent to like to hold it to them, like, but like if it's this like I'm like, you know, like like you know, I've talked to you about like I've dealt with like like a domestic abuse situation, and with like so, like I was the victim from someone in my family. I can't like I'm not in control of my family members' actions. Like I'm not. I'm like, you know, like I told you about my father saying like the N slur, and how like that was one of the last times I ever talked to him because it was just so like got like gobstoppingly gross. Like I don't know, like for me it's like I don't think you like we don't have control over the actions of like other people around us, especially our family members. Or so for me, at the very least, I'm just like I don't know, like if like you know, if a character is like, oh my, like if the if, like for me, if like if you say my brother is a Nazi, my judgment is not going to be about the fact you have a Nazi brother. My judgment is going to be how you feel about like about them and being such. Are you disgusted? Or are you apathetic? Or are you proud? Because if you're disgusted, okay, we're cool. If you're apathetic, I don't want to talk to you. I don't trust you. Like if you're proud of it, I'm gonna punch you in the fucking face. Like, you know, that's like kind of my standard for it. It like and like I don't know. For me, at the very least, with Madeline, I was like, like I was turned off to her at first, but like as the story went on, I'm like, okay, I don't actually think she has this ideology. This is a thing that this would probably happen in a time period, you know? Oh,
Ultimately, ultimately, I think the frameworks are different, so that you can't really play by the same rules with them. But I also think that like it depends. Like for example, like when you told me that anecdote about your father saying the N slur, like I didn't judge you because at this point I've known you for years, so I know you. But if you would have told me that like when we first started talking, that would have given me pause because it would have been like, oh, so this person was raised by like someone who is racist. So my first thought is, okay, I'm cautious because I'm thinking, well, how have you gone out of your way to unlearn that? How have you gone out of your way to like, either distance yourself or because people have racist, especially where I'm from, Texas. People like have racist family members all the time, and like, yeah, my mima is racist, or yeah, my dad or my bro, whoever, my boyfriend, oh, they're homophobic, or they're this or they're that. But like, you're still with them. Like,
yeah, yeah.
with them.
Like the thing is that was like, well, I'll be honest, like that, like I mean, like look, my like at that point I was already on my way out with my father. He's a rotten person. He has been stalking me for 2 years. He has harassed me in countless ways. It's a whole thing. But like like I remember when that happened, I was like shocked because I had never ever heard him say that before. But like, and I was like, and like, I was like genuinely like, what? When have you ever said this? Like that was like the thing that was like, but and when I told the story to my mom, she was also really surprised and disgusted. She was like, what? Like he said that? Like she was like gawked, and then and my mom like was still like, well, like she's like, Thomas, I'm not too surprised in a way. Hey, that like he but because like he always has been a shitbag in a lot of ways, and it was like, and she's like, and I almost did leave him in before the wedding and everything, but like but like for different reasons, but she was still gobsmacked. But like I think the thing that like she did say, like, it is possible your father has just surrounded himself with more racist people since then. It is also possible that he is just getting older and getting a lot more like less control on his brain. And she's like, she's like onset, like early onset, and like Alzheimer's and stuff could be in the family. I'm like, Mom, I don't know if that's what's going on here, but it was like something about her saying like my father pretend like because like that is a thing that happens, like you do, like you can end up getting surrounded by people who like are subtly more bigoted and lean you towards like a dangerous, like that is something that happens. Humans are social creatures. It's not an excuse, but it does happen, and so. Right. I feel like we've gotten a little, like too far away from Interview with a Vampire.
I do want to actually continue with Madeline, but talk about her and Claudia. So how do you feel about her dynamic with Claudia and how they meet and the vampirism of Madeline?
Like, I had like a lot of mixed feelings about the relationship, like being sexual and romantic, because like Claudia ultimately still sort of does have the body of a teenage girl. Like that like I don't know, like, but like the way they went about the relationship, it didn't feel like Madeline was attracted to Claudia like physically at all, and like it felt like their relationship like was more built on the emotional intimacy for it, so that like at least made it a little bit more easy for me to swallow. But like it like I don't know, like it was a weird, like, look, I think like because of the fact she's a vampire trapped like in a teenager's body, it's always just gonna be a little weird. It's always gonna be like I would never go as far as to like quite say she's a pedophile, but like it like I feel like I still had a bit
that wouldn't be a warranted. I feel like that wouldn't be a warranted label for her.
Yeah, like, because I feel like if we say that, then we're kind of missing kind of the point of Madeline, and like I mean, like it is still ick. I will say though, I still got a heavy ick factor, but I was able to like put the ick factor to the side to recognize what the writers are trying to do with Claudia's character in this relationship, and I did think to myself, I want Claudia to find love. I want her, and like
I didn't. I didn't. Not that like, and I know y'all think, y'all didn't want Claudia to find love. That's not what I'm saying. I didn't do. When I say I didn't, I mean when the thing with Madeline was happening, I didn't feel the ick. I didn't. I really, really didn't. I felt like, at first I felt like gals being pals, but when I saw it was getting more towards a love and a romance, like. It just, I guess, because they didn't focus on the sexuality of it, but then, like, to a certain point, I kind of did forget at times that she was a teenage girl just because of her performance and how she was talking and, like, again, her mind, she's not operating as a teenage girl even though that is her body, and then, like, to be... I guess, to be fair, I think Bailey Bass, because she is younger, Bailey Bass was like 18 or 19 when she filmed season 1. So she was a teenager, kind of playing a teenager. Delaney, she is, mid 20, early to mid 20s. She's more around my age. And, she can pass for younger, but... To me, she just gave... Oh, that's just a short girl. Like to me, I look at Bailey Bass and I'm like, she's young, kid. That's a kid. When I look at Delaney, I'm like, oh, that's just a short woman. Like I don't know. Maybe that was just me, but I'm like, I look at Delaney and I'm like, okay, this is just a girl who's short. Like okay, yeah. So I just didn't really get the ick from that. I just their connection just felt natural and organic, and I just liked it, and I thought the love that Madeline had for Claudia, like if I could use one word to describe the relationship, I would say pure. I would say it was just pure. It's just purity incarnate. It wasn't selfish. It wasn't greed. Like nobody had any ulterior motives. Like they longed for each other's companionship. You know what it felt like to me? It felt like the relationship that vampires have in the books, where it's like it's not really a sexual relationship per se, but like kind of sort of, but not really, but like it's this emotional bond that's just sort of like unbreakable. And like if they end up having sex later on, I'm gonna be honest, that wouldn't bother me. Now, do I want to see it?
No,
not
no,
really. Not really.
No, we don't need to see that. Like, I think they did it in a good way.
But if they had sex and they later on they said, yeah, we've done things, it wouldn't bother me because yeah.
I'm like that is something like we don't need to see that. But like it did feel like I did feel sold on the relationship. I felt that it was intimate, it was interesting, and like I said, I did want Claudia to find love in a way, because she has been through so much, and like finding love in a partner is a part of like growing, like for a lot of people, not necessarily everybody, like aromantic folks, I see y'all, but like can be a thing that really like is important to like at least experience on some level for people, and I liked that, being able to see her find that, even as brief as it was.
I felt really bad for the Sapphic community, because I think so many people look at this show and they're like, oh, it's just, it's a gay show, it's more focused on the men. And I was waiting for like a Sapphic characters to come in to, give some more audience to the lesbian girls and lesbian folks. And I really felt bad that, number one, it was robbed from them so immediately with the death, the deaths we'll get to in a minute. But I also felt bad because the dynamic has changed in the book. In the book, Claudia is not 14. She is 5 years old. So she is more dependent on Louis. Louis cannot just up and leave Claudia. He has to take care of her, and if he's gonna leave, someone needs to take care of her. So Madeline in the books was not a romantic figure. She was more like a mother figure to Claudia, and more of someone who's like, I love you, Claudia. You're like my daughter that I lost. I'm going to take care of you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Because as a vampire, So that relationship sort of being changed in the books, because it's like, okay, Claudia is more older now, but she's also like the body is an adult, so they couldn't really go ham on the lesbian stuff, I guess the same way they could like the gay male stuff. And I'm just like, damn. That sucks for my Sapphic girlies who really wanted to see that. Sorry to them. I really am.
I mean, like, that would have been, like, maybe we'll get that in season 3. Like, because, I think Lestat's... No. I thought, like, Lestat has, like a queer sister or something, right? Or, I don't know, like, or...
I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know, like... I can't remember a lot of the details. Honestly, I erased a lot of it because...
I hope so. Because my poor Sapphic girlies got done so terrible this season. They got robbed.
I mean, like, I will say, like, like, there's some good Sapphic stuff still out there, like, right now. Like, Dragon Prince's new season, like, shout
out to Amaya.
Yeah, Janai and Amaya, they finally tie the knot, finally. And House of the Dragon, like,
shout out to Miss Rhaenyra.
Yeah, Rhaenyra confirmed as queer, fucking finally. It's been like, though honestly, that show should have actually more lesbians. There was a lot of lesbians in this time period in the books. Like there was Sabbatha Frey, Black Alley, because Alicent Blackwood. And also Jane Eyre, the lady in charge of the Vale, was also definitely a lesbian and like having an affair with her girlfriend Michelle Redford or something was her name. Yeah, there was a lot of lesbians in that time period. I'm actually kind of like, I'm glad we got Masari and Rhaenyra, but I'm like, we'll save that for the rest of the house. But I'm like,
we'll save that for the House of the Dragon. We gotta finish it because it get kind of long, so we gotta finish it.
Yeah.
So. So their relationship. Now we have to go back before we get into the finale and the trial and all that. We have to talk about going back into the present with the Talamasca. So for y'all who do not know, the Talamasca is an organization in the Anne Rice universe. They're kind of, think of like the Watchers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but instead of actively fighting the vampires, they're just kind of recording everything. Like, we're just watching. We're just recording. We don't want to intervene. We don't want to get into anybody's business. We just want to see what's going on, and we're gonna write everything down just to keep a record. We just want to know stuff. Like that's the Talamasca. They don't want to stop anything. They just want to know stuff. Like they're like, we're not giving you this information so you can do anything about it. We just want the information. So we get more into them in the Mayfair Witches spin-off show, and there's also a Talamasca show coming in about a year or so about the Talamasca. So we'll get more about that when that drops. But yeah, that's what the Talamasca is. So they are they have information on Lestat. Then they have information on Louis. They know pretty much everything about them. They know Armand's real name. They know his real orders. They know about the ones who should be kept. They know about all that shit. Because of their years of recording and getting knowledge and having different informants, human and vampire, and witch and other things. So they are, sending Daniel this interview of the old interview. He destroyed the old tapes, but they have the original interview. And they have all these other files on Daniel and all of them. And he's like, what is the tea? What is going on? Oh my God. And, we have a rare scene where Daniel is outside of their, apartment. And he is having lunch. And, the real Rashid happens to go to the bathroom conveniently. So that this agent of the Talamasca can come in and be like, hi, so, information. We have information for you. We would like you to give us information, and we would like you to tweak your book, add these things, take these things out, and we'll make sure that you're paid for it. And he's just like, bitch, what the fuck? And they give him a warning. They're like, listen, you fear Armand, you should fear that other motherfucker because he is just as scary. I don't agree with them. Like, I agree, but I don't agree. Like, I do think that like Louis can be very dangerous in his own right. I think they said that line specifically because they were alluding to what happened in 1979. But I definitely think that the one he should have feared was Armand because Armand had it out for him from the beginning, and Armand was the one who was gonna eventually unalive him anyway. So
I mean, I don't know. Louis did wipe out an entire coven of vampires. Like that is kind of impressive. That is like if I was like
because they pissed him off. They gave him a reason.
Yeah, but like when he said I'm just saying when he said Ed, you should be afraid of the I would be like if I was looking in on this because Armand was always afraid of making a move against the rest of the coven, but Louis just went in, killed pretty much all but two of them, and the dude was and he's not even supposed to be a particularly powerful vampire, but he just went so apeshit that it's
he really isn't. He's just he just went apeshit, and I think the Coven's downfall, we'll get to that later, but they just kind of underestimated Louis. I think if they all would have been prepared for Louis, it would have gone down way differently. I think that Louis is easily underestimated, and that's why oftentimes people don't expect. That's the same reason why Lestat fell by his hand, because Lestat was like, oh, these motherfuckers, I got them. There's no way Louis and Claudia could beat me. And because he underestimated them, they defeated him. So, But, So yeah, so he has these Talamasca files and he's trying to figure that shit out. And he realizes these old interviews, these tapes, there are parts of the shit that he doesn't remember that's on the tape. So then we have to go back to the 1979 interview. So back to that interview, that first one, they meet at a gay bar and it's like, you want to go back to my place, and go back to this place, and it's like, are we gonna fuck? For the drug. He's like, listen, we don't have to do that. I get that. We don't have to do that. Here are the drugs. You can have the drugs, but I want you to. I'm a vampire, and okay. This is a side note, but I just thought it was so funny when, like, because at first, obviously, he's scared of him because he's revealing he's a vampire. He's showing the fangs, but then he's like, actually, that's kind of cool. Could you do that again? Like, that's actually really cool. Like, I was like, oh my god, they're so cute. Is it me, or did they have like a flirtatious chemistry?
I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about that now.
I know they said he's straight, but to me, it felt like Armand and not Armand. It felt like Daniel and Louis in the 70s. It felt like they had like a flirtatious chemistry thing going on, and I think that the only reason why they didn't fuck because for Louis, I think his whole thing was like fuck them and eat them and that whole thing. I think when Louis I think when Louis engages with humans, it's very difficult to like separate sex and violence for him when it comes to humans. So I don't see Louis ever falling in love with the human and doing that shit. I don't see him doing that shit. But anywho, they have the interview.
But I don't know. I still think of Daniel as gay. But like like that interview. Like I think like in that moment it was like Louis wants an emotional, intimate connection. He wants a spark. And I do think he finds that because I think Daniel does have a spark as a journalist, as an interviewer, or he knows how to cut at people,
Right.
And that's really fascinating to see with him in this story and with his character. And but like I also feel like a part of it was kind of like tired nester syndrome, like he was like kind of tired of in the relationship with Armand, because like I think he wasn't really stimulated in like deep Armand is kind of like almost like he's like, oh, like Louis, you're delicate, you're fragile, I need to keep you together. And I think Louis also still clearly had some underlying resentments, and they had to like a big part of their relationship in this episode was compromising, and him letting Daniel go for Louis, Louis promising to really like put the effort into like putting all this other bullshit besides AIDS, and I think it worked. I think it was interesting. And but I felt like that was like the moment where I really I was always a little like disgusted by Santiago, with with the way he treated the humans in his play, but like there was just something really like that was like the first episode.
But where do you think he got that from though? Like
yeah, like
Armand.
But that is what really made me grow to hate Armand in that scene. Like he really was like trying to just beat the willpower out of Daniel, and Daniel was fighting so hard and not even like physically but emotionally, like just fighting to keep himself alive and like keep a grip on his will, and not let this guy like take away the meaning of, because that's like the ultimate like kind of gross thing about the vampires to me. It's not just about the killing thing. What's really disturbing to me is like taking the willpower and the life out of a person, and like there feels like something more violating, at least to me, in that than just I'm like if someone just cut my throat, okay, like I'm dead, but like someone taking my the will out of me like that just feels horrible, like making me willing to give up everything in my life. I don't know, just like that, at least let me go to my grave still wanting and loving the things in my life rather than giving up on it. Like, that's, I don't know, that's just like so depraved and evil.
I get what you mean. If I was going to be killed by a vampire, I think I'd want to be mesmerized and like kind of die like that, because I think that obviously like the vampire would be doing it for them, for their sake and not for my sake. But I don't fear death, because we all have to die. I fear dying horrifically. I fear dying in a struggle. And the fight to survive, like, I know for some people, like, that is a mark of pride. Like, oh yeah, I died, but I went down fighting. And it's like, I get that, and I respect that. But for me, it's like, I struggle. Every day of my life is being me and being in my body and just being who I am is a struggle. I don't want to die like that. I don't want to die like that. If I have to die, if you are the god of my life all of a sudden and you get to decide when I die, I want to be peaceful and I want to not be afraid, and I just want to go. I just want to go on a chill note. And I get what you mean by like your will being taken, but it's like, I don't want that. I just
like I'm fine dying in my sleep, because to me that's like between me and God, like, you know.
Right.
But if it's another being who is trying to kill me, like, you know, at that point, that is the point where I'm like there's this quote from Dragon Age where this like Cassandra asks Blackwell, like, well, how do you ready yourself for a fight? He's like she's like, I pray to the Maker, and he's like, I just kind of tell myself, oh, it's either you or him, and if it's gonna be you, you better fucking well take him with you. Like, and I'm like, oh, like, and I'm like, and honestly, that's kind of how I feel. I do not, like, if someone is gonna fucking kill me, I want to be to be able to fight. I do not want someone to get the win on me. I do not want to just be someone else's fucking meal, someone's. I do not want to just. I do, like, if I'm gonna die passively, it has to be between me and God. If someone's gonna do them,
but you say God, but like in that moment, the vampires are God. Like they have all of the power in the world. Like, not over my life, but just in general. Like,
they're not gods.
Like they are the gods. No,
they're not gods. They're powerful, but they are petty, corrupt, unfeeling, and honestly,
like gods.
Yeah, but they're also pathetic. Like, look at Santiago being all petty and jealous over a fucking teenage girl getting a bit of the spotlight. Oh, wow. So fucking powerful and mature. How fucking godly. And, like,
I mean, the Greek gods, you know, the one god that the Christians were, like, all of the gods are these, like they are these jealous, petty, pathetic people who, like, the flood, baby, apparently it was just a couple of people sinning, and God was like, you know, I'm gonna flood the whole earth. The whole earth is gonna
like,
go.
I'm talking about God in, like, the more cosmic, spiritual, like sense. I'm not even, like, necessarily talking about Old Testament or Bible or, like, Torah God, you know? I am, like, just talking about, like, the way of things, you know? Like, people are going, like, I'm, like, everyone is gonna fucking die. I am fine with that, but, like, and if there is, like, some person who's like, look, everyone dies, I always, like, kind of view God as, like, a neutral figure. Like, you know, like, he is someone who just lets things play out. It is not really, he's like, it's not, like, look, this is just the order of things. It's not me doing anything petty. But, like, if it's a person, I'm like, with all of the same vulnerabilities, and you are choosing to take someone else's life, if you are choosing to inflict, that is a choice to inflict pain. That is a choice to, like take away something from someone. Yeah. There's an inherent act of at least apathy, if not malice. And I do not.
But it's like when we as people kill animals to eat. Like, we're not doing it because it's like, ooh, like, I want to hurt. It's like, that's just how it is.
I don't think that's the same thing, because animals.
I think for vampires, I think it's the same thing. I think it's like, when I'm killing this cow back in the olden days when it's time to kill the goats and the cows to eat. It's not about me being evil. It's about this is just how it is, and we're not even on the same like morality level. Like that's what I said earlier about like in the when they were in Eastern Europe about letting that woman die. It's like it's like you're not. It's like we're not even functioning on the same thing. It's like when animals die around us. Like
I don't think that fits in the same way though, because like I can't have a conversation with a cow. A cow is not consciously sentient in the same way another human being is, and both vampires and humans are consciously sentient beings.
But not in the same way. Vampires are on a completely different level. They feel more on a different level. Their minds expand more on a different level. They are connected to the world itself. Like a vampire, a vampire mentally cannot even compare to a human. And it's like it's like in season 1, Lestat is like these were your brothers and sisters, but now you're a god compared to them, Louis. Like you're not. You have to get out of the mindset that like you're the same.
I don't think so, because like a cow cannot hope. A cow cannot dream. Like you know like that's not the same thing. Like a human being can dream, a human being can hope, just as a vampire in this world can. So like for me, it's like there is of course I understand an apathy towards the experiences of other human beings, because like at that point you're immortal. Like you are detached from humanity in a certain way that is otherworldly. But like for me, I'm just like I am like if you are able to have a fucking conversation with me, you are capable of having respect for me. I am not capable of having a conversation with a cow or even a cat or a dog or anything like that. I love them and I care for them, or I can even hate them. But I like for me though, I'm like that is not the same thing. And like these vampire, like there is an inherent specific type of cruelty in like, because like in taking away someone's life, and like I think the Planet of the Apes films like explores that very deeply as well, in like in this question of like like assessing like how we treat other people, like when they do gain sentience, are they justified in hatred? Are they justified in the actions of violence, in retribution? And by that point, is it only justified when they are sentient, or is it not justified when they aren't? Or is it not justified if it's withholding that sort of sentience? Like if you are capable of bestowing that sort of sentience, but then you choose to withhold it, is that its own sort of cruelty and crime? Like, but like with vampire,
that's a good point. Whether that's the truth or not, even if that's not the truth, and like you are right about them being on the same level because they can communicate, I still think that like that's how the vampires think of it. That's how Armand thinks of it. Like I am real and I am a person, and you are not. You are beneath me. Like why would I even think about your feelings?
I don't know. Like I get it's in character for them, but like at the same time that kind of makes it for me even more assured that they're monsters. Like that is
definitely for sure.
And I'm just, for me in that experience, I would really hate Armand, and that's kind of why I loved the like. Are you okay? Like
we went on for a long time about the morality of it, but I do want to finish up their conversation really quickly, because they get into this really big. When I say that, I mean Louis and Armand get into this really big argument because Daniel is calling Louis out about his hypocrisy. Louis gets upset. He loses control. He bites him. I'm not even gonna say he saves Daniel. He saves Louis in the moment, because he gets Louis off of him, and there's this whole thing with that. And they have this really big argument about everything, about how Lestat has been a name not mentioned for 50 years, and blah 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 blah. And then they start hurling insults at each other. I'm Armand, and I'm boring, and I, have a British accent, and blah, 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 and, I'm Louis, and my sister died, and my sister was my third pillow, was my mother, and it's like, and they're being nasty as fuck to each other. I mean, they are being nasty to each other, real nasty. And, it gets to the point where Louis is like, well, fuck this shit, I'm out, literally. Like, he tries to harm himself, and then that backfires, and that changes the trajectory of the relationship for the rest of it. How did you feel about that argument?
I thought it was very interesting. I've definitely felt like for a while Louis was not happy in this relationship in a lot of different ways, and like had to like kind of like because like I do think they were in love with each other, but like honestly I think there was always a part of Louis that still sort of blamed Armand, but he really worked hard at putting that resentment and that feeling behind him, because like we get like the story does give you an impression that Armand kind of had a bit of a hand and in what happened to in Claudia's eventual death. Like we see like the story outlines pretty clearly Claudia will eventually die, and then but like for me I don't know, I did find that entire interaction very interesting, and Armand always did feel like he was kind of trying to pull Louis from the cusp, and Louis did kind of become Armand's whole world in a sense, because like Armand did save his life a little bit, like he did get him out of the out of that trunk case, and they did fall in like, and there was like a love and affection between them, but like at the same time, yeah, like it did feel like at times this was almost a marriage out of settlement, like you know, in a lot of ways, like it did not like, and when the problems did boil over, or it was dark, and Louis has like had a bit of a self-harming tendency in a lot of different ways, because he is a person who gets overwrought by his emotions and his loves and his grief, and I do find that to be very, very interesting and relatable. I don't know, like it's deeply humanizing for him.
It was bullshit to me. I thought the whole thing was bullshit. I thought, and when I say the whole thing, I mean Armand and like where he was coming from. I felt like it was all bullshit, because it's like that fight, to me, that fight is where they should have broken up, because they revealed that they hate each other. They revealed that they hate each other, actually. Because it's like all your true feelings are really coming out about the whole thing. And because this is the thing with Armand. Armand does not understand. You opened up about shit that you never talked to me. You had an intimacy with this human that because again, he fucks and eats men all the time. So it's not about fidelity. But because they're like, sex is whatever. That's just whatever. But intimacy, you were intimate with the human over me. Why? What is so interesting about this boy? And it's just like, I don't know, babes. He's just funny and cute and interesting. And Armand is none of those things right now. He's just not. And not only that, it's like, it was like, even though that was a skewed interview based off emotion, it was still like such freedom for him to get that shit off his chest. That was some traumatic fucking shit that happened, and you're living in a situation where you can't talk about it, and the only other person who could possibly understand, y'all can't speak on it, y'all can't talk about it. It's like, what? And then after the self-harm, it's like it's like he talks to Louis like the tone was almost like, and here you go again. This is what you get because you've always done that. And it's like, instead of coming from a place of like, whoa. Because Lestat heard that shit that night and was like, ever since that night I wondered, did you hurt yourself? And when he found out that he did, he was like, oh no, that breaks my heart. Armand, it's like when you're a kid and you do something and your parents like, don't do that to me, you're gonna hurt yourself, and you end up hurting yourself, and your parent is like, yeah, and that's why I told you don't do it, huh? That was the tone Armand had at when he was caring for Louis after the whole burn.
Well, I definitely think that like, you know, like Armand kind of felt like Louis was a bit of his responsibility at that point. And also like, because I think Armand did feel genuinely guilty, but I also think one of the reasons like that Louis had that big blow up with Armand is because I don't think Armand has been genuine in the relationship. Like, because again, he has been hiding the fact that like he was hiding something very, very fucked up in the relationship that he knew if that was exposed, it would end the relationship. Like, I
don't think that's ungenuine. I think it's like dishonest. I think by that point in the story, that point in time, I think Armand loved Louis, but it was like the dynamics were just different. Like when it was with Lestat was like, I'm in charge, I'm the daddy, I know everything about vampirism and you don't. And with Armand, that is reversed. That's why when they start getting together, Armand and Louis, that's why Louis takes a very, very, very intentional stance on, I am the daddy down this time. I'm the one in charge. This relationship is on my terms, on my rules. That's why, like, his little pet name for him is, master in French. Like, whoa. It's like, wait a minute. And it's like he goes from dating this white, kind of mastery figure to be kind of being with himself. And he thinks, like, by doing that, that's going to make this different. But this is the gag. This is the tea. This is the gimme gotcha. Armand is still pulling the strings. He pretends to be a subordinate. He pretends to, I live for you and I serve you and da 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 da. But you can see it's like in his little. It's kind of like House of the Dragon, where the hand of the king, whether that be Otto Hightower, whether that be Larry Strong, like you think, oh, I'm the hand of the king. I'm helping the king. I'm a slave. I'm a subordinate. But really, that hand to the king is really manipulating shit to whatever he wants it to be. Whatever he wants it to be. And that's what Armand was doing to Louis. Just sort of moving him into these directions of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Because Armand is the secret puppet master all along.
Yeah, but like, I think like the thing is having that secret, that type of secret, like, is going to weigh heavily on a relationship. And I think Louis, like, because like I do think that you having to hide a deep secret like that, you are not being your authentic self. That is a lie. And thus I think that's going to affect every other part of your interactions in your relationship, because then you're kind of walking on eggshells all the time. You're kind of constantly worried, is the bomb going to drop now? Will I reveal? Will something be like boil over, and will he find out? Will it all come crashing down? Like, that is the thing. I think, at least in like my stance, that the relationship was not genuine. I think Louis was picking up on that. I think like over time they grew to accept that, like, that distance, and like became comfortable with it. Because there are married couples that do have that, where there's a long-term secret, they don't reveal it, and they like, get comfortable with the distance, and then like even grow closer despite that subject matter never being broached. But like then, like, I guess getting to what happens, after like Claudia leaves for a time, happy with Madeline, and Louis is like, oh, me and Armand are gonna have a nice happy thing. Lestat comes back, and Santiago arranges this whole giant bullshit trial to like basically kill Louis, Claudia, and Madeline, and to humiliate Armand, and to solidify his power in the coven. And it's, God, that scene, like that entire episode was so brutal on so many levels. It was so
we have to get into the sequence of events to really illustrate how fucked this was. So Madeline and Claudia are living their gay life in Paris, and they leave and they come back, and Lestat and Armand, they get into a groove, and it gets to the point where it's like he pretends to leave the coven, and the coven the coven said it was either me or you, and I made a choice. And you think, well, because you're at my house and not with the coven, that you've made your choice. But no, he meant in the other way. So he arranges for them to have a nice little dinner. They're all having a good time, yada yada yada. They're literally like being like a cute quartet. And then, they get kidnapped because Armand has set all this shit up. We have the trial, and then Lestat shows up because Santiago's messy ass fucking went and dipped into some shit, and he apparently, what happened was the coven was able to mentally, telepathically look for, call, and summon Lestat to come over to Paris. Now, for Lestat, we were all confused because during the trial, at some points he would stumble over, at some points he would mince his words, but sometimes he would say things in ways that just seemed off. And we all thought, because in the books what happened was, this whole time in this Paris subplot, Lestat was being held prisoner by Armand and being, controlled by Armand. So the whole trial, he was being controlled by Armand to sell these disparaging things about Louis and Claudia when that's not actually how he felt. So that's what we thought was happening. Apparently that was not what's happening. Apparently what happened was Lestat was himself, and he came to Paris because he knew that if he did nothing, that they would die anyway, and he thought, well, at least maybe I could potentially figure out a way to save at least Louis if I can.
I don't know. I still don't know if that was like Lestat's plan to begin with. Like, part of me still feels like Lestat changed his mind midway through the trial. Because that was just my impression watching him through it, because he did seem to almost like delight in the malice of getting back, but then like as he was like exploring his emotions and there in front of Louis and Claudia, like I do think he started to change how he felt, especially as like he did go off script. Like I think this was something that was a lot more spontaneous for him. And
I don't, especially because like when they do the flashbacks of them rehearsing the script, Lestat has attitude. Lestat is biting back. He's like, you have no idea about Claudia's strength. Like, you're underestimating these two. Like, this is not going to be easy. I think that, like, I think... Now, do I think that part of him enjoyed this? Sure. But I think if he wanted them dead, he would have come up with his own plan to kill them years ago.
I don't know. I think the thing is, he was kind of quite... he probably did still have a little bit of shame, but again, last time he went against them, they won. He probably, again, it did provide an opportunity when the coven got the drop on them. Took them away in their happiest moment and wounded them enough that they could, get a moment and all that in on Claudia, Madeline, and Louis, and I because I don't know, even the way Lestat through the trial was really hateful towards Claudia, but in that last moment during her execution, and even his talk with Louis later, it genuinely felt like he regretted it. I feel like she looked at when she's I feel like we could have made a whole episode just talking about Claudia in that one episode, because it is such a leveled, an amazing performance, and badass, but also beautifully tragic. I still think about that scene where they're passing any final words, and and she's like, "Can the man in the back take off his hat, please?" And the guys, they're like, "Okay," and then she's like, "Okay, now I know. I have seen every single one of your faces, and if there's an afterlife, I'm gonna crawl my way back and kill every single motherfucking one of you." And I was like, I still remember getting chills, And
if there's no afterlife, I'll still find a way to do it.
Yeah, I was that really did show such strength, on her, most, I think, I could see a lot of people on the death row being oh, I'll come back and kill you all, but you'd roll your eyes, but it was chilling here. She's I will remember your fucking faces. And I honestly in my thought had thought I could see her doing this. I could almost imagine
in this universe, it actually is a possibility. So maybe we'll see that one day. I think that I think earlier in the season when he was having the hallucinations of Dream Lestat, and he's like, "I'm just waiting for you to if you're gonna do it, just fucking kill me." And Dream Lestat says, "I'm waiting for you to be happy." and that turned out being true. In the moment where he finally felt peace and happiness and togetherness, Lestat came and ruined it. Now we have to talk about the inaccuracies of the memories, because Lestat is going back and he is recounting things, and they're like, this is not what happened according to Louis. So we have to gauge where the truth is. Now, I automatically think the whole thing of like me, a vampire, being hunted. I think that's fake. I think that's
that was
bullshit.
fake.
I think
That was
that's
fucking
lies.
bullshit. Like I'm
We
like
all know that was lies.
like he's like
That, that,
he's like
I'm not even gonna
I
lie.
was
We don't
so
need to
tempted.
go
Like I'm like you don't have the power. Like Louis didn't like was human at the time. He had no power or in a situation. I'm like you're in a whole theater surrounded by humans. What is it about Louis specifically that so tantalized you at like as a vampire? Especially like the fact he is so charismatic during the whole thing kind of actually makes his entire argument bullshit, because if I was like sitting there, I'm like, oh, I'm utterly charmed by you. Wait, that proves that you're lying. Like, because like
well, from Lestat's perspective, I can understand how Lestat believes this, because from his perspective, because this was his story in season 1. I was walking down the street and I saw this gorgeous man, and oh my god, I was just so taken by him. And then I followed him, and then every night that I followed him, I got more and more, tantalized with him. And it's essentially his argument is, he's so hot, Your Honor. He made me do it because he was so hot. Like, that's essentially what he's saying. And like, that's a bullshit argument. But from Lestat, someone who is controlled by his emotions most of the time, it's like,
it is very in
that's
character.
that is very in character for him to think that, like, I'm being hunted. You're not being hunted. You're being taken over by your desire and your lust for him, and you cannot control yourself because of that, according to you. But that was just a lie. That we don't even need to debate that. The stuff I want to get into is Claudia being turned, and then the abuse fight. Which one you want to talk about first?
Let's do it. The Claudia getting turned, because honestly, I do believe Lestat in that version. Like, I do remember back during the original season, we did, like, it did kind of jump very quickly from, like, him taking her out of the fire to, like, her waking up. And, like, I think Lestat, in many ways, I don't know, I think Lestat has, like, at that point, it wasn't as much about his, like, love for Lou. Like, he's like, I don't think he was afraid of being the bad guy in the relationship at that point. I think he was just sort of saying, Louis, she's a child. Like, she's already on death's door. And if you make her into a vampire, she's going to be stuck as a child forever. Or, like, this is not, like, he's like, I know you want to escape that guilt, but this is just what it is. And, I don't know, I think even Louis kind of believes it. So I was like, I don't know, like, watching it through.
Well, because he said, like, girl, the Stats version is true, so you should write that one down.
Like, because, yeah, like, I mean, Louis was really pathetic, and also he was in a very bad mental state. He was blaming himself for basically a riot happening. And and he was badly burnt up. He was, like, crying his eyes out. He was like I don't know, like, yeah, like Armand, no, Armand, Lestat, I don't know, like, I just, like, in that scene, I'm like, I think Lestat was being accurate, and it was, like, a little, like, it was, like, I hate to say this, a little bit emotionally, like,
manipulative, because this was the difference between the two interactions, because I racked my brain for about 2 weeks when the episode aired, because I was like, well, fundamentally, what is the difference between the two versions? In both versions, Louis is like, I want to turn this girl into a vampire because I'm guilty and this is my fault. And Lestat said, that's not a good idea, babes. And he said, but please. And then Lestat does it anyway. Essentially, that's what happens in both versions. But in the Lestat version, you see the desperation of it. I think the desperation of it, I was just like, well, you're just saying he was more pathetic about it. What is the problem? But this is the problem. The problem is, I think now seeing the Stats version, I think that Louis completely. It's not that, like, Louis made her by accident and didn't realize the kind of life that she would have. Lestat explained she will suffer. Like, her life will be miserable if you turn her like this. And essentially he's like, I don't care. I just want her. And if you do it, I will never leave you. I will be by your side forever. Oh my god. And, like, that's that emotional manipulation to, like, play Lestat's hand, because that night he's like, fuck you, you'll always be alone, like whatever, and then he goes from that to, I'll never leave you, I'll always be.
Yeah, like it was kind
blackmail.
of it was kind of an all or nothing situation for Lestat in the relationship. So like, and that is a little bit fucked up, though. At the same time, like Louis was in a bad mental state. I cannot really blame him for that. Like, you know, like it, like of course it's not good, but like no one in that situation would be in a very good mental state to pull them.
But then I have to ask you a question then. If Lestat had said no, do you think that Louis would have ever forgiven him for letting Claudia die, or do you think it would have been a thing where he would have been mad at first and then he would have gotten over it?
I don't know. I honestly think Louis at the time would not have gotten over it. I think it would have been the end of the relationship, because at the time, like, Louis does not have the perspective of years and time as a vampire, and like, you know, like you know, like Louis does not understand, like, you know, okay, like if I keep living, I'll eventually get more and more distant from the loss, and it'll feel less painful. But, like, you know, I think Lestat kind of thought in the situation, like, okay, he's young and he doesn't understand this. If I want the relationship to continue at all, I have to do this. And so, like, there isn't a level of emotional manipulation, but I also think, like, Louis is not very conscious of the consequences of it, like the full level of the consequences of this decision. And you know, like, I don't know, like, I like Lestat's version of the scene better because it's more leveled and interesting, and like for both characters in their yeah, but yeah, that's like and I believe it, but then going into the abuse
fight. Oh.
Like, I mean, the thing is, like, Lestat doesn't really change any details. He just adds some things, and
but the adding changes a lot for me.
The thing is, like, I still think Lestat was fucking evil in that scene. Like, I do, but then again, I gotta say, though, like, you know, I think he could have pulled back. He did not need to fucking drop Louis like that. Like, that was...
Oh, he definitely didn't. He definitely did not.
Lestat took it to an extreme place, and, like, and, you know, but the thing is, like, for me in that situation, like, with, like, I'm like, okay, like, in a normal circumstances, Louis making a threat like that, like, you know, that is the point. Like if someone like makes a threat of like, I'll cut off your head and like carry it around everywhere, like in most situations, if someone like says that, I'm like, okay, you kind of have, like, if someone makes a threat to you like that in most circumstances in real life, I'm like, if someone says that, I would not blame you.
You should run.
I would say, yeah, you should run, but if you're not in a run situation, I would not blame you for whatever you had to do. Like, you know, that's just at least me personally.
But couldn't you argue that Lestat could have ran?
He could have, yes. He could have, absolutely, yes. He did not need to react violently in that way. But, like, at the same time, though, like, the thing is, like, ultimately, I don't like saying this, because, again, like, I've had my own, like, I'll never forget, like, the way I was kind of shamed after my own, instance of, like, being a victim of domestic abuse, where someone's like, well, you're bigger than this person, and I'm like, they had a knife on me, okay, and I, like, what, but in this situation, Lestat was stronger, and had more power, and you know, and I'm like Lestat, you could have in a sense walked away, and he did go overboard, and at that point I'm like, Lestat, honestly, I would have like you know, if you were really feeling threatened in that situation, like, you could have been less cruel when putting Louis down, you know, in a if that makes sense, like, you know.
I think ultimately, like, the context, because like in season 1, fans had a very, very negative reaction to the episode. They did not like it because it very much changes the book Lestat. The book Lestat is like, I would never touch Louis like that, ever. But, you know, TV Lestat is different. But then they were like, okay, guys, don't worry. We're going to add context in season 2. The context made it a tad bit better for me because, not that it ever excuses the abuse, but I guess from Lestat's perspective, he's like, Louis is not gonna stop. He's not gonna stop. So I have to put him down. I have to physically immobilize him. And because Lestat is an emotional bitch, Louis said a lot of mean things that hurt his feelings, and he's attacking him. And he's like, I'm trying to restrain him. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to put him down, but because my feelings are hurt, and he hurt my feelings, I'm going to be extra with it, and I'm going to drop him from the sky like a dramatic asshole. I think because this is the thing, I think he's allowed to add his context and give a reasoning behind why he did it, only because he does still take accountability for it at the trial.
Yeah, like, and I really did love that taking accountability scene. Like, it was a really, really poignant and, like, meaningful thing. Like, because, like, like, you'd almost expect that he would have denied it, like, ever happened. And I think that was, like, the original plan, like, in the script, like, and like, but, like, instead he goes off script and takes ownership of it, and he does, like, what, like, the biggest sin in theater is he turned his back to the audience and looked at Louis. Like, at that point, it felt like he stopped being an actor in the play. It stopped being a play for him, and this was like a human moment.
It was a real moment, and that's why for Claudia it was like, oh brother, this guy stinks, because it's like, again, you're giving this big old heartfelt apology to Louis, but you're forgetting the whole reason behind that argument was because of me. Because you wanted to hurt me. And you're not sorry about hurting me. You're not sorry about abusing me. You're not sorry about inflicting pain and trauma on me. It's just about you and Louis. You and him and you and fucking him. And, like, it was just like, it's never ever been about me. Even, I'm about to fucking die. And this whole, it's not even about me. And I'm like, damn, Claudia, damn, you right. And it's like, I don't understand. I get it. He felt bad at the very, very end. But it's like, you couldn't have finagled it to where, like, you could have saved it. Okay, you fucked Madeline. But you couldn't have even tried to save Claudia a little bit, even if you tried and failed. Like, come on, man. Come on.
I think, like, he did have that moment where it all kind of came together when she died, where he really realized, like, she looked at him in the end because, like, she was his child, and like, that, I think, put it in perspective for him that, like, he was her father, and he failed her, and he really hurt her, like, on every single way. And you could tell she still hates him, but in that instinctual moment of her death, she looks to him in this hope, just this hope that her father will save her. And I think that haunts him.
He did it.
Like, at that point, she was already dead, but, I think probably honestly that haunted him more than anything, even anything that happened with him and Louis. I think honestly that's the real reason, like, we see him later living in utter solitude,
utter hobble and poverty.
Yeah, like,
Al, why do you think that it took her dying for him to have this epiphany that, oh shit, this is my daughter?
I think it's just because, like, on a lot of levels, he did not, look, he got pulled into being a parent in many ways. Like, I'm not trying to, like, say he's a victim or anything. He's not, like, but, like, he did make it clear he did not want to be a parent, and he went through with it because his partner wanted it. And, like, so, like, and, like, I can't help but have a little bit of understanding for that experience, because I think anyone who doesn't want to be a parent, that is valid. Like, I don't think anyone who like you should be, like, seen as a villain just because you did not want to have kids. But that being said, like, there's a difference between being a disinterested parent and being a really, really awful parent. And he was very spiteful towards Claudia on so many ways. And petty about stuff. And, like, what's ultimately sad is, I think, is, like, she was honestly kind of more his kid than Louis in a certain way, because she was, like, she really was as cunning and as ruthless and as dramatic as him.
And she needed that, guidance from both of them. Like, Louis guided her heart and her compassion and wanted her to, have that compassion and love for humanity, but, like, she had a hunger and a power inside of her that she did not understand, that neither her nor Louis understood, and they needed Lestat to guide them through that. And that's why they kept asking, we need answers. Where do vampires come from? What are our powers? What can we do? How does this work? And he's just like, no, I'm not going to tell you, because I have more power that way. And that ultimately, it failed them. And what you said about him being a reluctant parent, I have empathy for that, especially because he was emotionally blackmailed into that. But it's just like, well, once the baby's here, it's like, what do you got to do, man? It's like, and just on a real life note, that happens to men every day. She's pregnant, you don't want to have a baby, tough titty, she gonna have the baby. And you can walk out or you can stay. He chose to stay, so now that's your kid, and now you gotta take responsibility.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. Like, like you wanted to stay with the partner and keep the partner, but like you didn't want well, sorry that like at that point you gotta choose to like cut the losses if that's what because I remember there was like a story a friend of mine told about another friend of theirs who like this girl went to try and like find her like their father she never met. She knocked on his door and it's like, I'm your daughter, and he's like, look, I did not want to be a part of your life, and I think you need to respect that decision. And it broke the girl, but like listening to that story, I'm like, I'm sorry, but like he has the he has kind of the right to like say he doesn't want to be a part of that. In the same way, I think a woman who gets pregnant and does not want to have the baby has the right to not want to have and carry that baby to term.
But you know what? Even though I agree with you, I think that's just where we are as a society. I think that's a really, really hard pill to swallow. I think that's an incredibly hard pill for the general public to swallow, especially with like the whole, narrative in general. Because you know how it normally goes. Woman has a baby, guy isn't really around, guy is kind of a deadbeat, sort of thing. Like, we just have like a sensitivity to that, specifically where, we shit on mothers too that are absent in a misogynistic way, but specifically like, that's just sort of like a age-old role for men, like the deadbeat dad sort of thing. And even if it's like they do it in an ethical way where it's like, I don't want to be part of your life, I'm sorry, respectfully, it is what it is. Like, I just think emotionally, as people, and right now we're just like, I still don't. You're still like shit for that, even though like you're right, but it's like no, it's still fuck you, like emotionally.
Well, like emotionally, I get it. Like fuck you for not being my parent, and my father. But like at the same time, I feel like there has to be a point where the child recognizes like, would I really want him to be like a parent to be locked into a life that's miserable, that they're gonna be miserable and probably not be very happy, or not really have like, maybe like it's not a me, like it's not a you, like, oh, I can't be loved by my parent and because I myself am unlovable. I would be like, no, that's them. They do not want the responsibility of being a parent. And I think there's a lot of people, I honestly, like when I used to work at a country club, there were so many parents there who I was like, you did not want to have kids. You fucking hate your own kids. And it's sad. It's fucking sad. As seeing the way the kids act out and I still remember there was this girl, like her, like, she was like the nastiest girl there. She was always making my coworkers' lives miserable. But like, I was like cleaning up from work one day and it was like 7:30 at night. The pool closed at like 6. Or 5 or 6, and like she's still sitting out there, and I'm like, where's your, like, why are you here? And she's like, I'm waiting for my mom. And I'm like, and I realized, I'm like, have I ever actually met your mother? Like, I realized, like, I saw this girl every fucking day like for years at this pool, and I could not put a name or a face to her mother. And I realized, I'm like her mother just did not give a shit. Like, and it turned to this girl was like very miserable, and it did ultimately harm her, really. And I'm like, and even the boys like did a storyline recently where like Huey like was very hurt by his mother leaving, but the mother was like, I did not want to be a parent. I was like suffering from postpartum depression so terribly I tried to end my own life. And it's like at the same time I'm like, like Huey was still very hurt, but like at the same time, like when it's the choice between like living like should we really be locking people into miserable lives? I feel like we've gotten so off topic, but like
but it's interesting, and like that's why we get into it. But like what you're saying is like I agree, but this is the dilemma. This is the hard spot that we're in as people, because yes, we're in a point where as like okay, you can make your decision about being a parent or not, but at the end of the day, the child still needs parents. Like a child still needs parents. So we can relinquish our parenthood, but I still think we need to make sure that the child has some sort of parent. Because when you don't, you have Claudias. You have people who walk through the world not feeling whole and not knowing who they are. And that's not an argument for like nuclear families or like biological families. That's an argument for kids having, you have to like you don't have your biological parents, but you have to, as a kid, you have to have somebody. And when you don't have somebody, or you have people but they're not the right people, you get people like Claudia.
Like I can agree, but also I don't know, like I feel like I'm letting the distractions get me, but like I still feel like having a bad parental figure, you know, and I do relate to Claudia on that level, for me at the very least, because like I do like you said, like there's a hole inside, but like I feel like there's a different type of hole in terms of if you have a parent who never is there versus having a parent there who does not love or really want to be there, or is just a bad parent. Like, because like I definitely would say I have a hole in me from from my parents, like different types of but like for my father, I think he took some so much from me, if the hole exists there, it's not because there was never anything properly put into that place. It's because he tore it out of me,
Right.
That's like the way I would describe it. Like I'm not a puzzle piece that's missing a piece. No, I am I am a sculpture that when it was like having the clay, someone took a piece of the clay out, and now like I've solidified, and that piece that is supposed to be there is gone, and it doesn't matter if you smack it on, it's not in there right now.
I think in retrospect, looking it back, on because like what you said about being torn out, that just kind of reminded me of shit of in retrospect, because I remember growing up and it'd be child, my parents, they need to break up. My parents are toxic, they need to break up. I would just be so much happier if my dad left and got a new house and got a new life and we were just separate. And I still feel that way, but he always was I'm staying around until you grow up, so you always have a father at home, so you always know that I'm here and I love you and that's cool, even though he was being terrible and shitty or whatever. And I've always was that's bullshit. No, I would rather it be separate and it be cool than not. But as I'm older, not that I was wrong, but I think that in retrospect, in hindsight, especially looking at other family members who did not have parents or fathers or whatever, he's not perfect, but I respect that my dad gave a fuck enough to attempt. Because a lot of my family members, cousins, people I know, they parents, I don't even care enough to try. I really don't. You're not even worth it. You're not even worth it enough for me to even attempt and fuck it up and I don't get it right. But I guess you know what, I in my situation, not for you, but for me,
I get it. Honestly, it's one of the reasons I really love Ava on Abbott Elementary, is because she said to the main girl, I forget the main girl, I don't know, Janine, yeah, she said to Janine, trust me, having a father who's never in the picture to begin with is a lot better than a father who keeps coming in and out, and I'm and I don't know, that felt very cathartic to me. And but again, we've gotten so far away from the interview, but
let's finish the trial. Let's finish interview, and then we can come back if we need to come back.
Yeah.
So it's okay. So the trial happened. Santiago is trying to get the girls killed, period. And Lestat is going off script, and we have homophobic hecklers and all of that shit. And it gets to the point where they're okay, death for Claudia. Death, 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 death. And Claudia makes an interesting point when, when Lestat is crying, being like, I had no choice. He was going to kill me, and I had to do something, and I'm sorry. And it's like, okay, bitch, you're alive. We didn't kill you. You were going to kill us, but we put you down, but we didn't kill you. Can I cry and say I'm sorry? Can I be forgiven? But this wasn't about that. This was about punishing them just because. It wasn't about justice at all. So clap that, number one. But then Madeline gets up, and then like, Madeline, you're white, and that's okay, and that's what it felt like. It felt like, Madeline, you're white, so you're not really a part of this. We don't have no beef with you, because let's talk about, at least for me, because I don't know how you felt about it because you're white, but I'm black, so I felt like this was not a trial. This was a lynching. Like, and I know that sometimes, like, some stories don't intend for things to look a certain way, but I'm sorry, like, in 1940s or 50s Paris, we got two black people on trial being judged by a room full of white people.
It did, the racial element did not escape itself for me, because I'm like, this does not, I don't know, just watching it, I was like, this is fuck. It was gross, like, on a lot of ways. Like, I felt like it was supposed to kind of be like that to some degree, but, like, the fact,
yeah.
But, like, there was just, you are putting, like, two black people on trial and not giving them any right to a defense. The fact they were, like, basically, like, causing these horrible migraines means every time they, like, spoke up and getting attacked, and like and especially, like, they wanted them to suffer like that. Like, the weird thing is they, like, drugged Madeline out.
And they're like, Madeline, you're white. You want to live real quick? You want life? You want to join the coven? You know that you all right? And she's like, no, my coven is Claudia. I choose Claudia. Okay, and that was the only bit of solace she got, because I think for the first time, somebody chose Claudia first. Like they had options, and Claudia was their number one choice. Because even with Louis, like, Louis put Claudia in the situation because he was so infatuated with Armand. His guard wasn't up. He trusted Armand. He let Armand into the circle. Armand let him know, to say, hey, I know about Lestat. As soon as Armand said, I know about Lestat, he should have gotten Claudia and ran. He should have gotten Claudia the moment he knew that Armand knew. But he was like it's like Claudia says, love makes you stupid. You go crazy for dick, and you just lose your mind once you get with a man, and it cost Claudia her life.
And you're right. They should have gotten out of Dodge, and this is what ultimately ends up happening. But like, it was beautiful in that she's like that someone finally chose her and was like, I do not care if I die, but like being like, I love you, and like I am not going to abandon you, and that was so beautiful. Like it was tragic, but it was just so real. Like, I loved that. I loved seeing that. And the idea, she's like, I refuse, like, and that offer of mercy, she's like, I refuse to live beside the people who were gonna murder my girlfriend. Fuck you. And honestly, like,
right.
I honestly, like, if they put me in a position, and like, maybe they said, we'll let you live, we'll let you go, and like, I might have considered it, but when they said, like, alongside us in the coven, I'm like, no, I would rather die. Like, I would have said this.
No, I was thinking maybe she could, like, take their offer and then get revenge with Louis, but I was like, nah, you die with Claudia real quick, because she needs somebody to be with her. But I was like, she could live on and get revenge, but I don't know.
I'm like, I don't think they would have, like in the coven, I don't think she would ever been in a position enough of respect to, like, get away, like, or whatnot. And they might have done something.
Was Louis?
Well, like, they were intending to kill Louis. Like, they were right. Always going to kill Louis. They threw him in that coffin, and it's just like, oh, well, we can't technically kill him, so we'll kill him slowly, throw him in the coffin, and Armand, and like, God, that was again, so, like, those vampires were cruel people. Like, there's something very, very, but the thing is, I don't know if it's cruel in the, like, is inherent to being, like, because, like, I don't know, like, thinking about the way they treated them it almost reminded me of the people who attacked Madeline. Like, these are just very petty, shitty people who want to act out and be violent. Like, that's
Yeah.
like I'm like, do you really care that they like killed some vampire lady who was freshly made and that you never fucking met? Do you really care, or is this just an excuse for you to lash out, be wrathful, get a little high on being powerful by crushing someone else?
So they have a mind control scene where they're like, when it gets to Louis' turn, they're like, banishment. So they banish him and they do that. And Armand is like, yeah, that was totally me. For me, yeah, that was me. I saved him. I was trying to come up with a plan, but I really couldn't do that because they forced my hand, and I was gonna die too. But at the last minute, I came up with a plan to save my man. That was the lies and the foolishness he was giving. So after that whole situation, Louis is being tortured in his coffin, being under a bed of rocks, and just slowly dying. But Armand, he opens the coffin and slips his little hand in so he can soak up that blood and get his powers back. And then we get the coolest, sexiest, noir chase murder revenge scene I've ever seen in anything. Like, Louis lights the fucking coven up, literally is setting their coffins on fire, and then Santiago, Estelle, and Marie escape. He rigs their motorcycles to blow the fuck up. He's like, just in case you motherfuckers want to escape, I'm gonna rig that shit. And then he personally hunted down the head of Santiago, because Santiago has always been jealous of him. Earlier they had a scene where they were going back and forth, and he was like trying to be in Louis' business, like, where you really from? Where's that accent from? That sounds like Cajun. That sounds like New Orleans. Are you from New Orleans? And Louis gagged him and ripped out his tongue and said, "You sound like a buffoon." Okay, you sound like a buffoon. So Louis and him are having this moment, and Santiago is very cunty. He's not quite as cunty as Lestat. Like, Lestat does it effortlessly. I think for Santiago, it's very try hard, and it's very like, I'm trying to be cut, but I'm not. Because he's like, oh, I enjoyed Claudia's ashes. We put him in the pepper shakers. We used them as makeup. I used them to jack off, and I'm just like, girl, die. You need to die. You need to die immediately.
Yeah, like, there was something so violent and gross, and I'm like. And I was like, yeah, like when he got his head cut off, I was like I was like that TV head guy from Has-Been Hotel, where it was like, yes, this is better than sex, kill him. Like, that was like,
that wasn't even good enough. He should have cut his head off and then split that down the middle and then just slice it up like a damn anime character, because it was just like, oh my god, like Santiago. That death was honestly too good for Santiago. Santiago should have slowly suffered, having all of his fingernails ripped off, all of his toenails cut the fuck. So he should have been tortured before he died. But Louis was in a hurry, so Louis had to get that shit done with his machete.
Yeah, Louis was taking care of business, and I was like, yes, get him, Louis.
Louis was really in his Buffy the Vampire Slayer era. Louis was like, you know what? My girl Buffy is busy. Let me help her out by slaying some vampires.
Yeah, took out a whole coven. Honestly, honestly, if he could have been a whole villain for Buffy in a season. Honestly, he was so.
Honestly, and the trench coat and the cigarette very much gave Spike. It very much gave Spike.
Honestly, I'd say Spike, if he Spike saw all this, he'd be like. He'd be shitting his pants. He'd be shitting his cut jeans. I loved it. I loved it.
Loved it. 10 out of 10s.
Yeah, and you think okay, Armand was in a threatened position, and you feel almost bad for him. And you almost understand okay, we've had our differences. We were in a difficult position. We've come to terms with it, and. I did genuinely buy their relationship, and then I got so worried for Daniel. I'm like, oh, they're gonna kill him, and what's gonna happen now? But then when Daniel pulled out that script,
and he said directed, because they reconciled after, not reconciled. They were like, hey, so fuck you. I don't give a fuck about you. I only let you live because you let me escape. So whatever. And then they go to Lestat, because Lestat is in his little dungeon where he became a vampire. And Lestat is like, And this is what pissed me off about Lestat. Like, girl, at least pretend to give a fuck. He's like, you crossed an ocean to kill your daughter, and you don't give a fuck. And he's like, and I don't give a fuck. And I really don't. And he's like, well, I'm gonna kill you. You can't. I have the blood of Akasha in me. Shout out to the Queen of the Damn movies. He's like, I have the blood of Akasha in me, bitch. You can't kill me unless I want to die. You can't. And he was like, okay, well, you know what? Oh, I got something for you. How about this? And then he kisses Armand and is like, this is your punishment. I'm going to be with Armand for the rest of my life. Al, you have no idea. The laugh that came from deep inside my soul, my bowels, that's where that laugh came from, where I was like, bitch! So this is why you've been with Armand for 70 years?
Yeah, it's all spite. It's all spite.
This is why? Because you're like, nanny boo boo, like, I got this man, and like, and you're jealous. Really? That was just so hilarious to me because that put everything into perspective. That put that whole hotel 1970s thing. Y'all hate each other because this isn't a marriage. This is a prison. This is a hell. This is a ring of hell because Armand is being tortured because he's trying to make up for something he could never make up for while hiding a worse secret. He's like, I've done everything I can to make up for it. You can't do that, Armand. I know that. Just torturing yourself forever. And then, Louis, you don't love this man. You hate this man because this man helped kill your daughter. But you're like, I'm going to make myself suffer because I'm going to make Lestat suffer. And it's like, girl, you don't... All right, sure. Like, oh my God. That was crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah, like it was like so like just pure, like I said, pure spite, and it was, and like, you know, I was like, you know, in a way like that, like I thought at the time Armand did save him, it did do all that, but then like that reveal, like it just broke my heart.
Daniel pulled the script out, and Daniel was like, so I got this file from the Talamasca, and they were like the who, the what now? Yeah. And I printed the script out, and the highlights in the red, yeah, that's Armand's pen, cause you know he didn't watch the play, he directed it. He was in rehearsal for weeks. He was going to the rehearsal planning to kill Louis, and I'm just like, that gagged me. He was like, there were so many people that could have saved you. Because Daniel said, now walk with me, Louis. Now, in season 1, after you got turned, he said, Lestat said that vampire makers cannot read their fledglings' minds. Correct? He said, yeah, that's correct. Well, then how come in that very same episode, minutes later, he's reading your mind and y'all are communicating telepathically about the salesman? Oh, well, I don't know. Well, and another thing, when he made the sailors leave the house in season 1, what was that, 30, 40 people? Yeah. Oh, okay, interesting. So it would stand to reason that Lestat, as well as Armand, could have saved you, right? Well, sort of. And he was like, well, what are you getting at? They're like, you know, and then Armand's getting annoyed. It's like, okay, this is what happened. Armand wanted you to die. It was Lestat that saved you. It was Lestat. And then from the moment that he said that, it was done. It was done. It was it was okay.
Yeah, like it was on site. Like it was like for Louis, it was on site for Armand. Like he's like I would have been like, you motherfucker.
I think because he was content. He was content in that hell. He was like, this is the hell I've made for myself, and I'm just going to be comfortable in it. But that one last fact just pushed him over the edge. Because he was already feeling weird because of the whole 1979 thing. Because this is the tea. I do not believe that Louis asked Armand to forget that. I don't. I know that it would make sense because he tried to take his life and that's traumatic and he went through a bad ordeal and he wouldn't want to remember that. I understand the logic in that. But they had so much progress, quote unquote, in that episode. They talked about their feelings and how to move forward. Like, they had resolved an argument to an extent. Why would you want to forget that shit? That makes no sense. Like, no, I don't believe he asked for his mind to be erased. I think Armand just erased it because he did not want him to remember how intimate the Daniel shit was. That's what I think.
Yeah, like it was so gawking to me, just like just the idea, like on so many levels, like that, like to have done that perverse, like you know, to like and like it recontextualized that entire like last scene with Lestat where he's like, you know what, Louis has been through enough, I'm not going to hurt him anymore. Like he's like, cause again, that would just be pulling the rug out. He's like, that would just be pulling the rug out from under you again. And I think like at that point, Lestat's like, I'm not doing that to him anymore. Or I think
that's huge mistake. He shouldn't have done that. He should not have let Louis walk away with Armand. I don't care if it would have made him look jealous because he was like, well, why didn't you tell me? I knew you would have figured it out. No, babes. No, do not. Like, I think that was for the worst, him being with Armand for all of those years. I don't think that, I think that Louis couldn't heal from those wounds until he got rid of Armand. Because Armand was like a leech on his back, constantly preventing him from getting into his trauma and unpacking it, because we can't talk about the past. We can't talk about Armand. We can't talk about certain details. Like, we can't. So as soon as Armand was out of his life, he was able to like come to terms with literally his entire fucking past. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, like I think like in a way like there was a sense of clarity there. Like though, like in realizing that like we did both love our child. We like, it came too late in a lot of ways, but I don't know. I liked it. I liked the scene like a lot. Like with like the reconciliation scene. Like, I don't know if they're back together.
Back in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Louis goes back to New Orleans to find Lestat and see what he's been up to. And Lestat is a horrible mess. He's not doing well. He has a vampire sub who's getting him rats. I think like Lestat is. They both have been punishing themselves for the last 70 years over Claudia's death. Lestat doing so alone in a hovel. You know, away from luxury, away from finery, away from art, away from music, and he's just like sitting there eating rats.
Well, and I think like in a way he is also eating those rats to like feel some closeness to Louis in some way.
Which is gross.
But like I don't know. I think it's almost like sort of a little tragically beautiful in a way. Hey, he's trying to adopt Louis' philosophy in his absence. And I feel like that does show a level of commitment, and at least in concept, to the love or to the person in some way, despite them not being there. And he is, I don't know. I did really find that interesting, but like, and I don't know. Like, I feel like there was a meaningful reconciliation. I don't need them to be together though. Like, you know, because they like. I would be interested in seeing their relationship further explored going forward. Though, like, I don't know, look, like, Lestat was terrible to Louis on a variety of different levels, but there's, but like, I don't know, like, I hate sort of saying this, but there was something more violating to me in the Armand thing. 'Cause, then even like, because like at least
Armand took like his memories, and it's like, and that's why this was so important to Louis, because when he got the 1979 memories back, he broke down and cried because he's like, this is what I want. I want to remember. I want to fill in the holes in my life, in my heart, in my mind.
Yeah, I agree, but like the thing is, like, I can at least say when Lestat like dropped Louis, it was like it was in the height of a fight, you know. Oh, like, but in regards to like there's something just, I don't know, to me on instinct, like more intimately violating in the idea that someone you planned this out for weeks as my partner and were planning to kill me and my daughter sister or whatever, you know, like that is like, and then you like sat on that and dated and married me or were like my partner for decades. Like that is that is like so
While pretending to like care about me and be my nurse and like and make they and in that 1979 fight there was an allusion to like Armand's more violent side. You know, Lestat's nickname for Armand is the murder gremlin, and it's because Louis is like, what is it gonna be tonight? The wet nurse or the gremlin? Are you gonna love me or are you gonna cut my hands off? Because you know that's something he did to Louis in the books. He cut his hands off, and it's like, was there this was there this physically violent relationship with them also that we weren't seeing?
not like I'm curious, like, but at the same time I don't know, like I feel like just like the emotion of that like lie was enough for me to be like, oh, like the thing is, like, I had been pretty solidly sold on that relationship and like loved it, but then I was like, and it wasn't even like in a shipping sense. I'm like, now I'm Team Lestat. I'm like, no, I was just like fully on the perspective, like, that is so vile. Like, that is so, like, I'm like, I hope Louis takes your fucking head off. Like, in that moment, I was like that you would deceive him like that you planned that shit out, that you made notes. Like I would have stuffed that script down his fucking throat. Like, it just...
At first, it didn't make any sense to me. It really didn't. Because it's like, if you wanted Louis dead, why help him? Why set him free to get his revenge on the cut? Why do that? If you are on team, I don't like Louis and Claudia and I want them to die. Okay, Claudia's dead. Louis is slowly gonna slowly die. You give it a couple more years, he'll be dead. Why do anything? You've won. You've won. Why? It didn't make any sense to like now. Okay.
I think it made sense in the sense he did still have some love and affection towards Louis, and like felt bad about him in the coffin and was like, okay, get away from all this, like you know, like, because he thought, oh, I'll still like, because like the thing is, I think he still did ultimately choose the coven, but like I like the thing is, like, from what we could tell, he was never really actually under threat like that. Like, from what we could tell. Like, and if he like he could have warned them at any time and gotten them out, but like he I think it was different. Like, you think, oh, you were cornered around the corner from the bar, and like they forced you to, like, that's different. But if like someone like intimately plans out weeks in ahead, that's not like you're put in a hard position. That is you choosing to
You chose that, and I never believed that he was forced. I never believed that because he's so much more powerful than all of them. Do you remember when they were out to dinner and then Louis and Santiago get into it, and then Armand slams the table and freezes the entire restaurant, and it's like, enough. Like, he is so powerful, and he could really take that whole coven if he really wanted to. So I never believed that like they physically like forced him to do this shit. I just think they, as a group, were like, we don't like this. If he wanted to keep power, he didn't want a rebellion. So he was like, you know what? I'm gonna choose the coven. I've known them longer anyway, and Louis is kind of flimsy and he doesn't know what he wants to do. So I choose the coven. Afterwards, it just didn't make sense that he saved him. And then like, okay, you saved him now, but now I guess because the coven was gone, he had nothing else to lose. So okay, well, I guess I'm gonna be with Louis. It's kind of a change because in the books, he hates the coven, and he's like, the coven is like not sophisticated. They don't like humans. They don't like art. They don't like the world. They're just boring and drab and dull. And Louis is fun and interesting, and and he'll take any chance he can get to leave the coven if he can. But in the show, he likes the power. He likes the control, and he wants to hold on to that at some point. Yeah. So, anywho, child, what did you think about the finale? In general, as a whole, because
I thought it was brilliant.
Up until
no,
go ahead.
I was I loved the murder sequence. I loved the reveal twist. It was just it was perfect to me on every single level. I had such a fun time. I was in love with the drama. I loved Louis coming into his power. I liked that Daniel became a vampire and was that he publicly exposed it, and everyone's disbelieving him, and he's getting insulted, and he's fuck you. Ew, buy my book. Look, it's the truth. I stand by it. I don't know. I loved Daniel's not letting himself be impeded. I'm trying to think of who else. I don't know. I loved it all. I loved it, and I was just so happy. It was just such a good series, and I love that final scene with Louis, where he's all the vampires in the world are we'll get you, we'll destroy and maim you, and he's fucking try me, bitch. Come at me, see what fucking happens.
Girl, I was concerned about the finale because up until a day or two, up until the day or two after the finale, we didn't know we were gonna get a season 3. So they had planned it to where they were gonna end it. If this was the end, this was gonna be the end of their story, and then we're gonna wrap up, and then we're gonna answer all of our questions, and blah 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 blah. I thought if the show had ended at season 2, I actually kind of would have been satisfied. Because that seasons 1 and 2 adapt the first book, Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. But I still had questions, and I was things didn't make sense still to me in some areas, and I wanted more exploration. So I'm glad we are getting a season 3. But I think for the most part they did a good job, and I would have been okay with it being the end of the show, because I'm okay. Daniel being a vampire, hate it. I know he's a vampire in the books. I know he gets turned into a vampire and he has to stay with Armand. That's cute, whatever. But knowing Daniel from the first 2 seasons, Daniel is fundamentally opposed to being a vampire. That's just not what he wants. It's not what he wants. And it's supposed to be a character evolution for him that in the 70s, when he's young and stupid and on drugs, he's I want to be a vampire, man. But now that he's older and wiser and he's dying, he's no, I don't want that. I don't want that shit. I want my life to have meaning. I don't want to live forever. And then, not only that, Armand is a bitch because he knows that when someone is turned into a vampire, they're frozen in time. So Daniel, he still has his Parkinson's. He's still suffering. He's just gonna suffer forever now as a fucking vampire. So fuck Armand for that.
Yeah, Armand does fucking suck. Truly, just.
Because Louis was if you put a hand on him, I will fucking kill you. But then I guess making him a vampire wasn't putting a hand on him. I don't know. He should still die. Anywho. That was Interview with a Vampire Season 2, y'all. This was a long, juicy one, but I had so much fun. I hope this is one of our best episodes we've done in a long time. I'm excited to get back into recording. This was so much fun. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, just, loved this doing this with you, great talking, great going over the vampires. It's been 3 hours. We should definitely get to sleep, but thank you again for listening. If you made it this far.
All right, y'all. Until next time, this is the Maxwell Media Inc. I'm your host, Sir Maxwell. May the power protect you. Bye bye.